Let's just make sure everybody's unmuted. Hello. Welcome. Please tell me it's working. Welcome to episode 46 of the Asylum. With me this evening, we have Snake Eater on this side, and we have our usual Bok. I can't pronounce the rest of his name.
I think you misspelled it again. Yes, you forgot the B.
I spelled it right. What are you talking about?
No.
Bok.
I
spelled it right.
Jesus, second time in a row.
No. B-O-C-K
K-B-E-R-T-J-E.
It's dyslexia.
I forgive you.
I swear. It's totally dyslexia.
Blame it on dyslexia.
It is. It can't. B's and D's and things. It's dyslexia. I swear. There we go.
Never mind.
I was even looking at your name on the side here to try and get it right. That's crazy. That's crazy. Welcome everybody. I see we've got Rythius, Taz, Italian Bum in the house. We've got Harry Loft 07s. What's up? Sleggy TV's here. Toby Tars. Jester's in the house. What up, Jester? Jester, were you? Oh, you didn't join. Never mind. I didn't know, dude. Sorry. I was trying to get Jester on, but I don't know if he was able to make it or not. He didn't message me. This is where I check my emails, and he's messaged me like 12 times. No, never mind. Anyway, welcome to 46. We've got an interesting plan this evening. Got a few interesting things to talk about. It's been some since we did the last show. We had the fun and shenanigans with the roadmap, which was, and I mean, like, is anyone here particularly surprised that things got moved? That's the first thing I want to do. Is anyone really surprised? No. Okay.
No, let me be honest. I'm even prepared for the flight model to be pushed back a little bit.
Really? Okay, interesting.
Or some bits of the flight model, yeah. Why not?
Okay, so let's dig out what was actually cut first, and then I've got it here. I've got the slashes. The slashes were brutal. Let me just check my video's working. Hang on. There we are. Beautiful. So, yeah, it's pretty brutal. We've got 3.5, the FPS combat stealth slashed, which is kind of weird because I'm guessing that's the first person stealth mechanic has been removed. Like, what was that going to be? Does anyone know what that was actually even meant to be?
That was like they were going to try to make that one. I honestly was like, why is this a priority? But that so you could like sneak up behind NPCs and like garrote them from behind. I would rather still shoot them from the front if you could keep working on that part of it than like sneak up behind some NPC guy and take him down. But you know that was,
exactly.
I think that's
all right. Random things going on. Yeah, I was curious about that. No, I just realized one of my bots is off. Don't worry, Toby. It's coming back in a second. Give me a minute. The bot will be back. I forgot to switch her on. She'll be on now. She should be on any minute now. The lovely D-bot should be active, so we can do a shout out to the lovely host that we had. Thank you so much, Penguins. Appreciate that. For the raid. And then we have the flight, quantum, and strafing. And I was like, what was quantum strafing about? Were we going to be doing sideways strafing? Was anyone planning on doing like handbrake turns in quantum? I was confused by that.
I've no clue.
Was it strafing in quantum, or was it just they were going to adjust the quantum and they were going to adjust strafing?
That's what I thought. Quantum, and I was like, okay, that's what I thought. Again, but then I was like, well, surely that's part of the flight model?
Yeah, I think they're just talking. Are they just talking about changing quantum efficiencies? You know, because people were all mad about not being able to make it to Hurston in one jump if they had a small ship and all that type of thing. I assume that they were talking about messing with that. But
thanks, Penguins. AI. It was AI. That's right. I forgot. It was about AI. It was to do with AI stuff rather than us. So it was quantum jumping, I guessing, for AI to do its stuff, and strafing for AI. It would be nice if it actually said next to it, but you know, hey ho, that's just me.
So and then AI would.
Hang on, you're breaking up a little bit for me. 2 seconds.
Quantum jump, is that what you're saying?
just end a few things.
Yes, I think.
Yeah. Is it?
Well, I
yeah,
can
yeah.
hear you
2 seconds.
perfectly.
Okay.
Yeah, no, you just ended. We were just breaking up on my end. Sorry, guys. 2 seconds.
No. It's that internet that they got to run under the channel. Yeah, I think were they? I mean, maybe it was like interdiction. Quantum, is that what they're talking about? I don't want AI.
Maybe that sounds more sensible.
Yeah, because I don't want if those ECN missions start having AI like quantum out before I can finish one, I'll lose my mind.
Okay, see how we run a bit now. Sorry, no, it's CPU usage. I'm going to have to buy a new PC basically in the next 3 months. So we're at maximum CPU at times. Since I added a debot, which I might have to get rid of now.
Yeah, it might be the bot.
Breaking up.
Yeah, I'm going to have to end the bot. Sorry, guys. We're not going to have so's this evening.
Sorry,
I jinxed
I'll
it.
do my best to look happy.
I jinxed it at the beginning. There we go. It's running a bit better now. I hope it's running a bit better now. It was running, but Toby, you fucked up the stream. I'm blaming you. It was running beautifully, but now it's not running at all.
Can't you switch to another online? Or do
Toby, it's your fault, Toby. No, it's not the bots. It's my CPU. Basically, what's happened is by having too many programs running, my poor CPU is having a meltdown since Toby wanted me to add all these extra programs. It's all your fault, Toby.
They'll do that. Maybe all things at this point.
Give it a second. How are we doing?
Oh, I can hear you. Yeah.
Yeah.
How are we doing? Just check it, just see if it's running better or worse. Sorry, guys.
It sounds better.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's still a little bit broken though.
Well, as long as the audio is fine, that's the most important thing, I think.
Okay. Come on, baby. There you go. It's like it had to catch up to the fact that certain things aren't running now. There we go. Now we're down to 70% CPU. Well, hey, okay, guys. Toby, we'll have words later. We'll have to do without the bot. Sorry, there's going to be no shout outs to people with that bot. So just manually stick. If we've got any mods, just manually put.
Yeah, we do it manually.
Life without bots. How do we ever survive?
Thank you. Toby's in trouble. What have I got to do with it? It's your fault, sir. It's totally your fault. If I were a mod. Oh, yes, that's not a mod. Someone said this to me the other day.
Everybody can do a shout out now if they're all having to do is type.
Perfect.
Yeah, I banned. Right. Okay, so we're back on track, I think. We're back on track. Beautiful. Yeah, we're down to 70%. Lovely. Okay, so where was it? Yeah, so AI strafing, quantum strafing. Okay, fine. I think again that's down related to the fact that I think the AI is just shit. To be honest, I think they were obviously having to do a complete overhaul.
You know, I was asking on stream the other day. It feels like AI is fine in Arena Commander. You know, like when you do swarms or whatever. Pips track and you don't get that same feeling you do in the PU. So what is it that you think that would translate fine over to the PU? So what is it that's making AI so broken in the PU and work fine in Arena Commander? Firstly,
the Vandal AI in Arena Commander is not good. Okay, that's far too easy still. The Pirate Swarm in Arena Commander is, I would agree with you, is actually more challenging and seems more competitive. But it's still not like, come on, it's not. I don't feel like I'm fighting against a real person still.
I'm not saying it's super difficult or compelling from like a challenging standpoint. I'm saying it isn't just not broken in the sense that you can actually track a target, like you can actually aim at it and shoot it. You know what I mean? Like the AI and the PU is just, it has to be standing still because the pips don't work at all, and you need to like manually eyeball it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of, I think it's just because maybe the way they've already described, you know, like the way Tony Z does his kind of round table, and the way they always talk about how the AI is going to be this, it's going to do this, it's going to do that, and it's going to be, you know, and Chris Roberts is like, you're not going to be able to tell the difference between a real person and an AI person. And has anyone here had that experience? Because I know for a fact, because I know for a fact that I've seen the opposite, where I've had people who are humans think based on my name tag that I'm an NPC.
How dare you talk about my flying like that, madness? How dare you, sir?
Yeah, I've had, but I've never had the other way. I've never felt like
it's the flying AI that sucks, and the NPCs on the ground that are just stupid, falling down in slow motion, not reacting the way they should. I don't know what the difference is, what causes the difference with Arena Commander and the live PU. I have no clue. Is it network related? Is it a slightly different mechanic they're using? I really don't know, but they have to address it soon.
Yeah, there's some things that I kind of wonder about. Like we talked a little bit about this in the pre-show, where they tend to feel like they've got to build everything from the ground up. You know what I mean? But there's some things in the game where I'm like, the game industry's got that cracked, guys. I mean, just go, you know, skim some Call of Duty cats over to CIG or something, and like they'll have you up and running on an FPS model like pretty quick. You know, so just I wonder why it's some of the things that seem most on lock in the video game industry are some of the things that are still very much behind all the other things in the game, you know. And maybe that's their plan. Maybe they were doing all the heavy lifting on the difficult to do stuff up front, and then they'll come back through on a later date and be like, all this stuff is easy stuff. We're just gonna plug it in, you know.
Perhaps. I mean, equally, they could be, you know, they might give you the perception that they actually are organized and know what they're doing, and they could be completely unorganized, and it could just be all happenstance. It could be all just happenstance, and I don't believe that. I think there's a plan, but it could be all happenstance.
I would put all the gameplay stuff in first, and then build out around that. I know it's easy to say that, but like I said, maybe there's stuff behind the scenes that I don't see in terms of mapping out all these efforts, but you know, in contrast, there's some other games that I really like that are in early access, that they've built a core gameplay loop that is really satisfying and enjoyable, and then they expand out from there. You know, to some degree, I guess StarCitizen has done that around dogfighting and space flight, but you know, none of the other FPS stuff, and none of the AI combat and all that stuff. So.
Oh, but your dog wants attention.
Yeah, the stream mascots are going to be coming in and out.
Actually, I forgot to say, to anyone that's wondering where Miserable G is, he's currently painting, heavily painting again, bless him. His name is now Josephine. He's changed his name and gender to Josephine. He's in chat right now. Good luck, mate.
Guys.
With your deadline. I know you and Moist, if anyone follows these guys on Twitter, will be seeing all the stuff that they are up to, in terms of the fact that this is like the worst kept secret, but they're basically obviously painting stuff. So we all know that they're painting stuff. They work on projects for CIG, so it's kind of like not too difficult to imagine to predict kind of what they're up to. It's not that much of a challenge.
Working on things. Yes.
Is that your troll account, Miz? Yeah. Is that? But that's supposed to be a secret. That's the one that you fire up when you go into somebody's stream and ask them about scam citizen and stuff.
Yeah. Clearly, now we're going to be watching out for it. So yeah, good luck, mate. Good luck, pal, with all that stuff. I'm looking forward to seeing the pictures. I don't know when your deadline is, but I'm guessing it's pretty soon. So this is the reason he's not here, guys. He's sat with a mask on in the middle of a garage doing a load of painting. So good luck to getting that done. So yeah, now the whole AI thing is just they're hiring new people for that. I think here's the thing. I've got this in the document actually to discuss, which is, and I watched a little bit of some other streamers talk about this as well, and it's to do with core game mechanics, core things like, is the AI a core thing? Yeah, of course. Is it essential and crucial to StarCitizen? Yes. I mean, how long do you think it takes to do the AI? Have they maybe bitten off more than they can chew? Is the AI far too big? There's a lot of questions there around that. But is the AI for this type of game too big? And can you actually make AI that's going to be able to do everything we need now without all of the other bits? It's like the chicken and the egg. What comes first? The AI, the game mechanics, the bits on the side? How do you do it?
I think there are a lot of different techniques underneath that are really dependent on each other that will prevent the AI from maybe working correctly at this time.
I feel like it's PUBG when it was getting really popular was missing some seemed like very simple features, like vaulting, for example, vaulting over a wall that's 3 feet tall that you'd normally be able to just hop over easily, but you couldn't in PUBG. And the developers came back and talked about why it was so difficult was because the way that they had created the game physics and all the assets in the game and animations for the characters were such that the paths that they had to go back through to properly map animations to go over objects was much more difficult than just being like, oh, this is a vault animation and it will look the same on everything. And so I don't remember the exact details on it, but maybe it's something like that, because it's a custom engine, because they're doing all this DNA stuff, because they have all these unique pipelines now as compared to the rest of the game industry. It just may not be as simple as saying, hey, why can't you just throw in there like a Call of Duty AI engine and call it a day? But
yeah, I think that would be fine for your basic combat techniques, but we have your whole what's it called, inner thought system that's maybe interfering with it as well, or eventually cannot work with the standard implementation of AI and that sort of stuff. It's really hard to tell if you're not working there.
yeah.
Well,
a good question to ask him though in the next month or so or whatever.
The problem that we got, I mean, this is the whole kind of asking the devs stuff. Like, I'm hoping they bring the show back because I'd like them to answer that sub questions. I think those are really good questions. Like, and I'd like to, I'm hoping we get obviously back to the ATVs where we had Sandy grilling Chris again, because I think she asked him the good questions. And the other guys always sense, you can tell the difference between those that can ask the questions and those that can't ask those questions and can get away with it,
For sure.
And Sandy can. So, I like the fact that even if it is a bit rehearsed or whatever, I don't really care, because I think sometimes, like all things, is like, there's a psychology where you sometimes get into the mind of that type of a person. And I think that Sandy perhaps gets a little bit into that a little bit more than probably Chris realizes. And she gives him a little bit of she asks a little bit harder than he probably would like.
This whole sentence is going back and forth between those looks between them.
Like, what the we agreed not to talk about that.
It's good. Yeah, that's good.
Did you just seriously ask me that? Yeah.
How many retakes did they do?
Probably
it's
a couple
in one run. Yeah.
No,
exactly.
no.
So Chris knows exactly what's to come.
No, absolutely. But I think there's like a few moments where you could potentially see like a foot being pressed under the table, kind of like, shut up.
A high heel in the chin.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So it's good, but I genuinely I would like to know more. I think everyone would like to know a bit more about the AI and like what are the complications and the difficulties. I don't want to hear it from Tony Z though. In truth, I know that's the only person we're going to hear it from, but I don't want to because everyone loves Tony. I'm like, he hasn't earned it yet for me. I'm sorry. Like the environment team have earned it. The guys who do all the cloud mechanics and all the other stuff, those guys, and the guys who do the armor and Jay Lee and all those guys, they've earned their kind of stripes for me. The AI team is just not, you haven't earned it yet for me. So for me, it's like, I want to know more, but I don't want to get stuck in a 20, 30, 40 minute just round the houses conversation that just seems to be the case. It's like, yeah, okay, well, just give it to me straight, like clearly, like what the fuck is the problem? You know, why are we still lacking gameplay?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, at this point, you start to feel like there might be some valid hard questions. Like, if we haven't had an AI team up until now, and now they're like, okay, form the team, assemble. Okay, but we've had an AI team for a handful of years. What do you need? What do you need from us to be able to like get this thing going? And what is normal for the industry? Like, how big is an AI team normally in these games that's all they do is FPS? Again, I don't know what the standard is, but I would love to know what they might need to start killing it over there.
Exactly, and that's what we want. We want them to be successful. I think that's the thing. Is I don't want them to fail. I want them to be successful.
Exactly.
Of course, yeah.
So whatever they need and I'm like, let's figure it out, and if they need more money, then that's fine. We'll know the situation. They need more time, then be clear and frank about it and explain that situation. I don't think the people here are kind of like crazy about it. Obviously being time, but it'd be like, okay, well, what's the deal? What's going on? Why is the game mechanics? Because it seems to be like every patch. Now I know the beginning of the year is slow. We all know this. CRG notoriously slow in the first part of the year. For every year I've been, the first quarter has always had delays and pushbacks and all the rest of it. That's pretty standard now. But it's kind of like, it does feel like if you were to look at the maps that we had like last year, or not even last year, but the year before, like we should be like on 4.0 by now in terms of game mechanics, based on what they originally said. Now I know everyone says I throw out, but like that's quite way behind to be only having mining in a year game mechanic wise, and then to be redoing your flight model again. And this is the thing with me with the flight model, like I said yesterday, and I won't last week. And if you want to catch up on my last week's flight model, you can. Was like, I don't want to accept a broken, buggy flight model. Like at this stage, we should really be having a really tightly nailed down flight model. It should realistically be coming in good, and I'm hoping that's what it's going to be like. But it's notoriously bad new things.
Yeah, if they fuck this up, it's
serious.
Yeah, I think that you get to a certain point on the roadmap that they've put out, and you wonder, there's certain pieces that should eventually lock in. You should be like, the whole game may not be gold, but boom, this piece is locked in. We're gold on that. We don't have to worry about that one anymore. And I'm, which part of the game would you consider closest to that state right now? And I would have said maybe the space combat, because that's like the core game loop for everybody to participate in most reliably, but they're about to redo the whole flight model. So at what point within like 24 months of supposedly being in beta are they going to be like, boom, we're good, this thing is, maybe we tweak it a little bit here and there, but all in all, this part of the game is ready to ship. Let's go. Yeah. Nothing's there yet. So hopefully,
like I say, for me, Snake, the only thing, if I was looking at the game and I was to say, what do I think runs the best and has been the best, it would be, like I said, the moons. Like they're, in my opinion, the most attractive. Like they've been most successful in terms of technology to be able to generate the procedurally generated planets and moons and stuff like that. I just kind of get blown away by the visuals, and the lighting team and the color and the sound team are pretty good. Are pretty smashed it out of the park.
Assets, you're right. Probably assets are the part, but that job is never done. Assets will never be done. They're never going to stop putting ships in the game. Never going to stop putting environments and cities and chairs and trash cans in the game. So
the most important aspect is still missing for the Moons and Hurston, and that's the AI activity outside of the city.
Yeah,
it feels barren there. As soon as you leave Lorville, where all the NPCs are. You don't find anyone.
When it works well, you get that sense though, don't you? When you did the FPS combat missions and stuff, and as the kind of the hunting's got pretty good on, like I think I played it the other day, and it seemed like the AI had improved a little bit on the hunting. But you got this. I mean, I know that the thing is that's again very combat specific, which is fine, and that's cool. At least it's kind of they got something, but there's not enough. There's just not enough of that, and I agree. No. I'm like waiting for much more.
I want to see overflying ships and other stuff, cargo ships that are providing all kinds of materials to the city. I want to see buggies or other vehicles driving around on a land road or through the forest or whatever. Put a ship in the sea.
I agree. No, I agree 100%. Like I haven't seen an NPC riding around in a Cyclone or a Rover, or I haven't seen, we saw like they showed us it on like the Reclaimer video, didn't they? Like the advert was like, oh look, there's the cool Reclaimer, and then there's the players outside. It's like it would be cool if you could see a little bit of that more in the game, like with people with spaceships.
It feels more alive, yeah. Now it just kind of feels empty.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I agree. And I'm sure that's what they want. But it's like, it just seems so far away still. Do you know what I mean? That's the thing.
They're not ready so far away.
In contrast, I see. So I've compared a lot of times Escape from Tarkov to StarCitizen, and that both developers have this very ambitious vision in mind for the game that far exceeds what the normal genre would contain. But they have, like, in comparison to in terms of like where they're at in development, they've got this core that is pretty locked in. Now, people will still say it's got some bugs here and there, but overall, you could arguably release the game in its current state as just a arena type of a shooter, and it would be successful, and it would be satisfying to play, and they could obviously continue to dial it in and refine it, but that part of the game is shippable. You know what I mean? I would like to see them do something like that with StarCitizen, where like they focus most of their resources on getting the core part of the game, or something that we play up the most, shippable, then do that with another thing, then do that with another thing. Because right now, it kind of feels like they touch on everything, every once in a while, and as a result, it's taking a lot longer. But
it was this phrase, something like, if you're a master of none, but you're kind of like a jack of all trades, but a master of none type of thing.
Yeah, a little bit like that.
It's kind of. But the thing is that we see the thing that I get frustrated, and we were talked about this before the show, is we see, if you watch ATV and you've been part of this community for any longer than 3 years, 4 years, whatever, you will have seen loads of ATV snippets and animations and trailers, and we see tons of stuff at Citizen Cons where we see this obviously this what do they call it? This my brain's left me. They call it when they take a team and then they do a run or something. I can't remember what it's called now. Oh, my brain's left me. No, it's not. They take a small team and they do like a little sprint. That was it. They take a sprint. Thank you, Fenrir. And they do a sprint. And they get us all excited with these sprints, but nothing ever seems to come from most of them. I mean, some of them they do, and I don't want to be too salty, but some of them they do. We've seen so many things like. Again, we saw all the cloth animations recently at CitizenCon. We've seen air venting. We've seen AI. We've seen vaulting and jumping and improved climbing mechanics, so jumping up and climbing onto things. We've seen all of these things, but it's still... And I wonder, this is where I go, is it because the AI isn't there? And that's the whole point. These animations can't be implemented because the scale, like Italian Bomb says, the scalability of the AI just isn't there yet, good enough. And it's like, okay. Maybe that's
it. True. And what Fenrir says...
it's not very good, Toby, though. Not what they showed us, the ability to climb up onto different... Sorry, just because Toby was saying...
Introducing new features can break all the other stuff that they got in. And there's just one word in 3.5 schedule that catches my eye, and that's the word improvement. Maybe it was in there before, but I see a lot of improvement. And that's basically what Toby said earlier this week. They are actually trying to smoothen out all the glitches in their existing base tech right now, so they can actually continue with the rest and having less and less bugs. Hopefully, you will never know that, but yeah, it seems to me that they are really working on the existing tech even more.
So would you say the way I would look at this is like my parents love their gardening, so it's like they're getting the weeds out of the garden so that they can then have a beautiful later on type of thing. So they have to do the bit that you don't necessarily see, but it's hard work. So they're fixing all of that, which is cool.
That's our hope. That's always our hope, but the pressure's on. I mean, they've just said that they expect to be 24 months from beta on Squadron 42, which Squadron 42 contains the vast majority of the, core technology that the PO is going to, or the PU is going to have. So, 24 months. I mean, I look at that and I'm like,
I know, right? No flight model. First iteration of a flight model.
You need AI. You need a good feeling flight model for, those two things are the core gameplay loops for a narrative first person game. And 24 months from now, I hope so.
And they've had 4 years, because we ignored the 2 years prior. 4 years to get it right, and they're starting again with a flight model with 24 months to produce a triple tier A game. Like, not being funny, I'm just saying the math on that is like, that's, and they can't, if they delay it again.
They say they're hiring and stuff. I mean, when they say AI team, has it been like a couple of guys that are also semi-attached to other teams, or is it a true like full on? Because I just feel like if this were Call of Duty, or if this were some other dedicated FPS game, as an example, and they said that they were 24 months out from like the Division or something like that. Their expectation would be that the AI is more dialed in than it is right now if they were just an FPS game. So we'll see.
We will, and they have 20. Yeah, it's not. It's yeah. So what else they've removed? Okay, let's look what else they've removed. Okay, so we have the reputation and law system. Now, I know they haven't removed it entirely, but they've removed quite a large chunk of this, which is pretty much kind of adds up to kind of the same, in my opinion, which is a shame. So from what I understand, like, I believe this is most of the reputation system's going to be gone, and like the law system, I was like, yeah, it's kind of sad. It would be nice to see more of that. I'm not gutted because I'm like, I still think there's more important things than that, but that was fun.
As careful with that as with the flight model, to be perfectly honest, because I was just talking about this last night with some cats, that if they're not careful, they don't have enough content to do outside of quote unquote lawful space. A lot of people are probably gonna give it a rest and shelf it for a little while, because can you imagine everybody having to go to Korea or hit ECN missions, which are of limited availability, to correct their crime stat, when somebody could have been on my cat, literally maxed out my crime stat, like, level 4, because they stepped out on the gate and hurt themselves, and because it was just a glitch, but it gave me crime stat. Now I know before I get to go back to Port O, before I get to go back to Levski, I've got to go spend like 45 minutes doing ECN missions. Like, that would break the game for a lot of people. I think a lot of people would shelf it for a while, because they're like, there's not enough to do if I'm like unlawful or whatever.
Yeah, no, it's too easy to get a crime stat, in my opinion, and it's not easy enough to get rid of it. I agree, for some of the minor infractions. Like, if I played Red Dead Redemption, for example, I had like the bounty aspect in Red Dead Redemption is actually quite brutal to playing bad, which makes sense because this is kind of like a lawman and all that. In that kind of time, it makes kind of sense the way they're doing it. But it is tedious at times. I find it very frustrating the way, I have to go and do stuff. I have to get on my horse and then go all the way over to a bloody post office and then put in my bounty to get rid of it. Now, it's part of the game and I understand, but StarCitizen is more brutal. At least they've kind of got, like, you can go to different places to get rid of your crime stat and it costs you money. which I thought was quite interesting. I wonder if StarCitizen will do the same thing, whereas you can financially pay money to reduce your crime stat rather than watching a hacking terminal going. You could potentially go in and go, here's 100 UEC for my, or 50 UEC for my tiers 1 bar. Bang, gone. Instant. Here's 2, and then if you go up to like your 4, like your 3s and your 4s or whatever else, then maybe it's, you know, it's substantial amount of money, and whereby you go, well, actually maybe I do want to go and hack the terminal because it's free and I haven't got any money, and that's the slow way to do it, you know.
Good idea. It could be as simple as opening up the part of Grim that has the big hangar too, though, because if Grim became capable of supporting larger ships, then you would at least have that one place that's outside of lawful space that you could conduct business to, you know, in. So should you end up being on the wrong side of the law, can't go to Levsey, can't go to Grim, can't go to Hurston, you know, then you could at least hide out in Grim and get your you know, go do your cargo runs or go base out of there, and it might get busy. right now everybody's got crime stat, but at least you would not cut yourself off from huge chunks of gameplay. Whereas now, if you're stuck at Grim, you got no big ships, you got you know very little to participate in any of the other stuff that's out there. So
but I know some people, in terms of the paying for stuff, I know people would get salty about it in terms of like, well, you know, if you're rich, you know, you'll be able to kind of pay off your crimes really quickly and stuff. And I'm like, well, that's kind of true in life to a degree.
Exactly.
And they could do all sorts of things with it. You could like pay other people to go and clear your crime stat for you. You know, here you go, I'm bored. Here you go, here's some money. Go clear my crime stat for me, please.
Yeah, totally.
That would be quite helpful. You could have a job clearing people's crime stats. You could be like a lawyer in the game. I would love the idea that one of the good things about Red Dead that they did, which I thought was really cool, is if you do a misdemeanor, you actually just get told to go away. You get a wanted, they come over and then you just kind of say, hey, look, you know, I'm sorry, you know, I fucked up. I kind of ran over this, actually bumped into this person. I was shouting at them. You're like, hey, it's time for you to go away. And the law just tells you to go away, which is kind of cool. I thought that was really, really clever. And I was like, that would be cool for us. If you accidentally bumped into somebody or whatever and you got your 1 bar, the law just tells you to just kind of like, you know, like I say, it's like $10 or something, or go away. It's easy to clear, you know?
Or you get a call out like, hey, don't come over here right now because you're a criminal.
Yeah, for like a time, it could be a time period, and then it disappears. Once you go out the system or whatever, then the crime bar goes away, type of thing. You know, after a period of time, or you know, I think they could be clever with that. At the moment, the easiest way to do it, I don't know if anyone else here does it, is if all your mates have all got crime stats, get in a freelancer, fly over together or whatever to Lawville, and get shot, clear your crime stat, and then get yourself into a cutlass or whatever, overclock your engines or whatever it is, and just book it back again to, or even not, if you do it so you don't even land. One person, unfortunately, is a sucker. He has to land. So maybe get your friend who's got no crime stat to take you over. But if everyone who's a criminal goes over there, then you respawn back at Hex without a crime stat. So it's like a few minutes. It's much quicker than you all waiting your turn at Korea to get your crime stat taken down, which is just, again, it's just so stupid.
I'll be honest. I was surprised when they put the rep thing in there so early. I'm like, until the way I view the universe as it stands right now, it's a compressed version of what they want, right? You want lawful space and then unlawful space, but lawful space right now only extends to our mist zone boundary. After that, it's game on. Ultimately, there'll be lawful space much further out, and there'll be patrols of police, and there'll be like all kinds of things that make it difficult for people that want to just, you know, go around and shoot people for fun. Make it much harder for them to do that, but they can't have that right now. It's just not a big enough universe. So so until they do expand that universe, I just don't see how they can have a good, you know, solid rep system with people that are outside of the rep to, you know, continue to play the game, that type of thing. You know, if you want to play that unlawful side of the house, then what do you do besides attack people, you know?
Well, I mean, I look at the I agree with you, and here's the thing: I disagree slightly on the size. I think that the game actually right now would be as a great size to be able to get everything nailed down. I don't necessarily. I think if you can make everything work really well in this Crusader system, honestly, I think jump gates and all the rest of it is just an extension and variation on this. If they can get this working in terms of the planets, the moons, and for me, the reputation system, like I agree, it shouldn't be in now anyway, because there's nothing to do, like we discussed, outside of Hurston. There's nothing around the planets or the moons, or there's, to have a law system. The only thing we have is a couple stations, like at Jumptown, for example, and a few other places that people go. There's no real like law flying around over there. There was a few on the comm stations before, and sometimes there was like AI used to fly around there and kind of protect them and stuff, which was fun. Actually, it was actually really good fun. So hopefully, that's.
I don't mean physically, by the way. I just mean the compression of the law system. So like the lawful system is not in existence outside of the armistice zone. Eventually, the armistice zone is not supposed to exist, and they're supposed to have like police patrols out to like the edges of that zone, right?
Supposed to, yeah. That's the plan. Yeah, and I but you'd like to. We're talking again. Making the world feel more realistic would be you'd see, like in these areas, we'd feel the NPCs, the police NPCs, flying around more. Like Port Olisar should really be. So we should have good, substantial police ships flying around, so that us lot who sit like freaking vultures waiting for an Aurora to leave, suddenly pounces on it and destroys it. In the truth, that shouldn't really be a thing. I shouldn't even be anywhere near Port Olisar to do that. It should be a new player should be able to spawn in that location and feel safe and secure, other than the fact that somebody maybe steals and sneaks on board their ship. That's where there potentially there should be. That's what I figured you were saying. Yeah,
the system, you'd be out in when you start going out into the unlawful space. It feels a little bit like you're out in the sticks, and you feel like you're in no man's land. There's less patrols. You don't see the police and stuff, and you're like, okay, out here, it's maybe not going to be a good idea for me to if I'm not trying to be out here, I should turn around. That type of thing,
I think that would help with all the big things everyone talks about, griefing and Jumptown. I think that would help those players get that sense when they go to Jumptown. They're like, they no longer, even though the name is a clue, you're selling drugs should be a big enough clue. I think it would be like another reinforcement to them to say, hey, look, you clearly know where it's safe, and you clearly now know where it's not safe. It's like, whereas at the moment they're not getting that experience, are they? Because when you go to Port Olisar, there's usually a fight going on outside Port Olisar, as if it was Korea or if it was Grim Hex or anywhere. It's just, there's just fights everywhere. It's lawless. It's like Wild West out there, people. It's like the Wild West.
It is.
We've got the big one, Salvage. The big one has been dropped, as it were. Salvage. I know a lot of people were probably really looking forward to this. I honestly didn't expect it to make it, simply because I think that Salvage will come in with the Vulture. I think that the Reclaimer has been done purely as a set dressing and has no functionality properly designed into it. And I think that on the animations, I think that it's purely just another big ship like a Starfarer. And it's like a bodybuilder with no dick, basically, is the way I look at it. It's kind of all show and no trousers. Yeah, it's the best way to describe it.
Yeah, that's another one where I was excited about it, in the sense that it would open up a lot of focus to those people who really want those gameplay loops, and those are the industries that they want to focus on, and they've got some ships out there that could potentially start doing it right away. But I started thinking in my mind, I'm like, we haven't seen any demonstration animations of like how Salvage will actually work, and this is just all of a sudden going to be in there. You just like, boom, now you can salvage stuff. It's like, how's that gonna look like?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, they showed us the Vulture. The reason why I think the Vulture is going to work, because I think it's simple. Whereas the Reclaimer is complicated. A big hand. It's got, if you actually think of the design where all the grinding goes in the back and everything, there's no real. It just doesn't make any sense to me. I look at it and I go, that makes no sense. Whereas the Vulture, it makes sense. It's got kind of like a tractor beam that sucks the thing in and then breaks it down into the parts, and then they get sucked inside and then get stored and ground up inside. Literally, like as if it's food eating something. It's good.
Makes almost the same size as the Prospector.
Yeah, is debris in game right now broken up into size categories, just like cargo is, so that you'll be like, you can go up to something with a Vulture and be like, this thing's too big, I can't take it, but this thing over here, let me suck it into my little maw and chew it up and see if I can get something out of it. Like, they don't have that in there either, so I don't know how to.
That's true. They don't have. That's absolutely right, 100%. They talked about it. which is why they've talked about how they would have it will have the segments broken up and everything, like you said. But yeah, we haven't seen it. We've seen pictures, I think, like visual pictures of how they want it to work, but we haven't seen any animations. And we saw briefly one animation of the Reclaimers claw going.
Yeah, I really think we need to.
I don't. I don't know anybody else here, but I'm going to tell you now. As much as rigging is difficult in 3D, to do that ain't that difficult. Honestly, it ain't that difficult. A couple of rig points and stuff, that ain't that difficult to do. It's not super easy, but it ain't that difficult to do. So that didn't really impress me too much. You know,
I mean, I try to
the Reclaimer's landing gear impressed me too, and that is amazing. And the Reclaimer is a beautiful looking ship. Don't get me wrong, I want to be positive here. It is a beautiful ship, and I think it's one of the coolest ships in the game. And I think it's just a shame, just like the Starfarer, that its game mechanic just still isn't here. You know what I mean? That's so frustrating. It's still refueling is not here, salvaging is still not here. Again. You know, and it's just like.
I mean, my hope is that like they smack us in the face with these big gameplay loops, and all of a sudden that like we're out here going, we haven't seen anything yet, and then they're like they drop it on us. But you know, there's not much fanfare preceding it, so it makes me feel like maybe it's not really going to happen like that. Maybe they're not going to be ready, and if we haven't seen any preceding clues that that's like ready to rock, then should we have even expected it to?
I don't think they will drop it all at once. Too many bugs can occur when you do that. Put them out one by one and clear out the kinks. That's basically how they should do it and how they will do it, I guess.
That's what it seems like. Like if it's being developed in the open like it is supposed to be, then you're going to see a bunch of lead ups to that stuff. And if you don't, then expect a push because...
Yeah, I still think they did a step back in developing the newer stuff. Not that they are completely stopped with it, absolutely not. But they are really focusing on the existing stuff that's already in there and getting that as smooth as possible before they put something else in.
Here's my thing though, right? Because you're saying that there, right? They're saying that they're improving on this stuff. I don't mean to be kind of a bit of a killjoy, but it says like improvements 3 of 21, 4 of 34, 0 of 2, 0 of 4, 0 of 5, 0 of 3, 0 of 3. I'm kind of like, they clearly haven't started. It's like they've just started.
I don't know.
Now.
I can't look into their
That feels like a change.
Schedule,
like,
but yeah.
If I was looking at that, I would go, something's changed there. Like someone said to me, I would go, someone said, fuck that, I want you to do this. You know what I mean? It doesn't, that's what it screams to me. And that's fine, but that's what it just says to me. When I look at that, I go, that's complete change. Whereas some of these other ones up here are just, we're looking at 18 of 40, 41 of 90, 72, 17, half, these ones feel like they've been worked on for a substantial bit of time.
True.
More than the other ones, other than maybe the Reliant, which is like got 2 of 10. But
I think really something's changed indeed. That somebody maybe that somebody is Chris, of course, but said, okay, let's take a step back. Let's polish it. Well, let's polish the hell out of it, and continue with a very good stable base and. Things will go much easier after that. Hopefully.
Perhaps I think that they also. I worry. This is my little thing. Is I worry that perhaps streamers of a certain size may be having a little bit of an impact on the game as well, because the game is kind of at that place now. We know there's a few streamers out there who bigger names have come in. We have Rexzilla. He's been doing every night. I think he does like a big raid party thing, which looks really great and everything else. And I wonder if the romance of that has appealed to a point where they're like, oh shit, you know what, guys? We need to make sure this game running a little bit better because we can get more people. You know what I mean? And I wonder if that's having an impact.
I don't think Chris will rush himself and his people because we, the streamers, are putting this game out there.
Yeah, I agree with
that. if Chris thinks it's not okay, it's not okay. He will pull it back and try to fix it.
Yeah, I do think though that they're gonna start looking at it, especially with regard to a solid end state timeline now that they've got for at least part of the game. They're gonna compare it to other games that are in the same space and go, do we have playable female characters? No. Do we have a pretty solid FPS experience? Not really. Do we have a shippable flight model? Not yet. You know what I mean? You start going down the list, and you're like, we have a beautiful game, but we need to get to business on some of this business end of things. Like we need to really go to it. So,
yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, yeah. That's kind of like the main things. Then we've got the M50 improvements have been removed. Again, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think the M50 is actually one of the coolest ships. I think Italian Bomb would probably agree with me.
About what they were going to do with that. Like, what do you
just fuck it up? Just fuck it up was what I was thinking they were going to do with it. Just break it. I'm glad they haven't fiddled with it. I honestly think the M50 is probably one of the coolest ships in terms of it just looks great. And like, I don't know. In my head, I don't know what they wanted, why they were talking about improvements. I guess it was old and it needed something to it, but I thought the M50 was glorious, personally. Same with the other ships. There's a few ships I think that they've never needed to fiddle with too much, the way they have. The Constellation Taurus. What the hell? Why is the Taurus not in? You got some awesome dogs, dude. Why the hell is the Taurus not in the game yet? Can someone tell me? Like, all the other Connies are in the game. What is it about the Taurus that makes it so unique that it's a cargo running ship, right? A version of the Connie.
I don't know what the original vision of it was. Is it supposed to be a lot different, similar to like the Phoenix than the other Connies, or is it just supposed to be like they got rid of some of the back end, like the fighter and stuff, and just adds a few more SCU? Like, it seems like
cargo's hard, supposedly. Yeah, I don't know. Delta. It's supposed to be stripped down Connie. Yeah, it's cargo runner. I'm like, what's so difficult? I don't know. I really like. I have all the Connies. Like, I don't understand how that's not been done. But anyway, that's just me. The P-52 again. The Merlin improvements again. It's interesting. The improvements have been kiboshed on the ships again, which I think again makes sense. It's like that's not going to make them any more money. So it's kind of pointless. It's a kind of a waste of investment, which I agree. In reality, the tourists might make them money, but the reality is you've already got the caterpillars in, you've got the freelancer Maxes in doing probably the same type of job. Doesn't really probably need to be here. And to be fair, the Connies need another look at, in my opinion. Anyway, the Banu single tachyon cannon 1 of 25. I'm excited for that. Alien guns, boys. But I was like, but then I'm like, I really want an alien handgun, as well. I want some more alien hand weaponry and stuff in the game.
The new handgun that is going to come out, that's made by the same maker as the Karna, does actually look cool and like a deviation from all the other pistols and that look. But it's a little more like Han Solo's gun to me than than the current pistols.
It's just one of those weird decisions. Why putting the Banu single tachyon cannon in 3.5 and not further along the road?
Banu Defender. It's on the Defender.
It's on the Defender.
Yeah, it's on the Banu Defender.
That makes sense. Yeah.
My worry is it's only 1 of 25. That's my biggest concern, because the Banu's kind of the Banu ship is a bit further on. Banu Defender's 12 of 52. Well, I know we got a couple more months, but I'm just like, oh my god, we better get a move on, Josh. Get a move on.
I don't know what those tasks will mean. What does it?
I don't know. I don't know either.
Yeah,
I don't know either. It's hard to know.
Because know that they can pump out ships quickly if they want to. So I'm less worried about seeing like small numbers from the ship team and the weapon team, or the armor team, because
exactly.
that stuff is like they can knock it out pretty quick if they have to. I think
that's
other back end, the coding stuff. That's something like.
That's one of my things. If when I do CitizenCon, when I get CitizenCon, one of my things I really want to ask the teams out there and sit them down and be like, you know, your numbers, there's like 12 and 51 and all this kind of tasks and stuff. Like, what is that? Like, can you just give me like an actual breakdown of exactly what you have to do within these period of times to get ships flight ready? Because they've done a flight, they did a ship kind of walkthrough, like the pipeline. They've done that, but it's kind of dated now. And I'm curious with all the new things that they have on board and new teams and new technologies and new tools and stuff. Exactly. A little bit more of a breakdown of like, 30 things that are required to make the ship, the Bounty Defender, actually flight ready or whatever ship after it goes from grey. Because obviously we go white, grey, and then you get to this kind of stages. I'm curious at what stage this is considered from and what the tasks are required to make a ship going. It'd be just to me that would be interesting. I'm not sure it's for everybody, but that's why I would probably ask them in person and be like, could you just give me a breakdown? Be curious to know. The new flight model. So this is interesting. So the new flight model is 122 of 144. Previous time it was like 130. So it's gone up 14 more tasks from what I understand, which is interesting. I wonder if that's to do with the Grav-lev flight model that's been added into the game on ATV. If that now is why that's gone up, because they wanted to redo the flight Grav-lev system.
They had to, yeah.
Yeah, which is really funny because the guy who did the previous one is obviously an outside consultant, and I had a good chuckle on someone's stream the other day when they told me because he was so proud of it, and we were all like, "It's shit! It's terrible."
The new one looks much better.
It does. We'll get to ATV in a second on the flight model, but we'll talk about that later. The OCS code conversion improvements, the OCS background spawning improvements, the lobby refactor, the parallel network jobs, and the organic shader. So the OCS stuff is kind of, we talk about improvements on the other side, the kind of the visual improvements, but it seems like the OCS improvements are either too difficult or not needed this time. So that's interesting. And the network jobs. So I wonder why that's been canned. Anyone know who's a network person? Know why that might be canned? If you please tell me in chat, because I have no idea about that stuff, but I'd be curious if it's really difficult. I'm sure it is. Organic shader, it's gone. Parallel network jobs, gone. Yeah, and then that's it. And that's 3.5. So 3.5 will be some more planets, moons, the DNA face customization. That's going to be cool. I think we're all going to have a lot of fun with that. And then not have much more fun with it, but that will be fun. New mission giver. That will be cool.
Minutes.
Well, it depends if you like that stuff, but I like it. It's cool. And the big one is the female player character as well. That's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Sorry, Buck, what were you saying?
The 300s
No,
too.
just big question: will the new mission giver work?
Well, yeah. How many mission givers work? Does anyone actually manage to get one working yet?
I got Wallace to work now, finally. Or they got Wallace to work.
I've not got a single mission giver to work. I had Ruto working, but like I said, the timer cut down too quick. I couldn't take his mission because the timer ran out.
Yeah, exactly. So annoying.
So
the 300 rework will be exciting too. I don't know how long it'll be exciting, but it will be nice.
Yeah, that's true. The 300i, the 300 series, yeah. I'm surprised again how far behind it seems, considering they had already started it on the previous. It was meant to be in the previous couple patches, I believe.
Yeah, well, the 300 is up there, but then the variants are like 2 of whatever, right? But I assume that's just because they're just like paint and a couple coding items that they do to change them, as opposed to like the base mesh and all that stuff.
I'm surprised that it's just paint, though. I always thought it was a bit more internally as well, because one's a racer and the other one's
I don't mean
a fighter.
I just mean stuff you won't see. Like the base mesh remains the same. They just have to code it differently for different like acceleration and top speeds and that type of thing. But generally speaking, it's like it's just because of those tweaks, they haven't really put much into it. Like there's 2 of 10 because they'll come back around and just make it do what it's got to do for that variant. But everything else in the 300 is like that's the core bar ship.
Sorry. For anyone, the reason why Snake's camera is not full HD is because it's not running on NDI this time. So bless him, he's having to be screen grab because my computer can't handle NDI and all the programs as you've seen at the beginning of the stream. So if anyone wonders why Snake isn't at glorious 1020 DSR, he still looks fantastic, but it's not quite the full HD. It's totally deliberate, guys. Totally deliberate. We can't have him looking as good as it's because my computer just can't run all the programs. That's the only reason. The CPU usage kills it.
Have a
so
C90. C90
just cheap out. Just blur it a little bit. Just go over your finger and just kind of smear the screen a little bit. Then you're absolutely with the rest of us. Maybe paint your teeth a little bit yellow, like the rest of us Europeans. Bit crooked teeth. So that I think that's kind of like, you're looking for the 300. I'm looking forward to the Banu. There's a few other bits and bobs. I think the female in-game we'll talk about later, which is kind of looking really cool. But it's a small patch now, which again, like I think everyone's forgotten. Like CRG did say last year that Q1 and Q4 tend to be the quiet patches, and then it's the Q2, Q3 tend to be the bigger patches in terms of content. So, Q2. 2Q and 2.4. Maybe it's Q2 and Q4. I can't remember. But I think it's one of those. No, it's Q2 and Q3 tend to be the bigger patches, and then in the middle of the year, those are kind of like big patches, and then it's 4 and 1. I think tends to be quiet, or it could be 2 and 4, and 1 is quiet and 3 is quiet. I'm not sure. It's something like that. It's like an alternate. They alternate type of thing.
I feel like 4. Well, yeah, I guess 3 is in line with CitizenCon, so usually they probably try to specifically target that to be a significant one, probably.
Yeah.
But
2 tends to be pretty big because normally you have like Gamescom as well. So it's like you have Gamescom kind of comes on, so you want to kind of show good for Gamescom, and then you want to show big for CitizenCon, and also because usually they've ramped up after the first part of the year, so now they're into like fourth gear by the time they get into the second quarter. So that's why you've got. I think that patch period tends to be more content based on last year, only based on last year.
Ideally, Q3 is such a massive drop that even the stuff they push makes the quarter 4 patch a massive drop too. This past year, where 3 was such a big content drop that they actually had quite a bit of content in 3.5, 3.3.5, and 3.4. Like it was all 3 of them were like pretty significant. So
okay, so that's the controversy, I suppose, or whatever. I mean, it didn't. To be fair, Reddit didn't explode like it normally does, which tells me a lot that people are kind of used to this type of stuff now. They don't care. But the fact that Reddit didn't explode.
Yeah, didn't mention anything about the character, so that's pretty much all the people.
Also, I think it gets swarmed by so many more desktop screensavers from people that have been watching people's streams still. It still keeps getting, the Reddit is just constantly swarmed by desktop screenshots, which is so difficult to get through these days. I'm literally strolling through pages of desktop. Picture of Hurston Moon. I had to stop and take a picture. Good. Please don't send it to me. I really don't need to see. I don't need to see another Hurston landscape, please. I would like Reddit to literally just like filter. I wonder if you can filter. I'll have to look into if you can filter out certain things. So
landscapes.
For anyone, again, Demar Rally is coming up next week. So I will announce a little bit more this week what the Asylum team is going to be doing and who's going to be driving and all this sort of stuff. So take notes or whatever. If you've not done if you don't know about the Demar Rally, it is, I have a thing here. It's a 300 kilometers, 3 outposts on Demar race. It's across 3 divisions. We have the Buggy, Cyclones, the Rovers, and the Nox, and the Dragonfly. Different races for each one of those. Maximum 2 drivers and 2 support pilots per team. Vehicle weapons are allowed after the first checkpoint, so it goes hot after the second checkpoint, which is going to be very interesting to see what happens when they say vehicles. And I wonder if the support team above are allowed to decimate people. That's kind of been my hope. But I don't think we're allowed to. And then, so the rule book is around. I haven't read the rule book. Who here reads rule books? Let's be honest.
I'm actually so excited for this thing, but do you know if you're allowed to restream it? Because I think it would be great to get some coverage on it too. Yeah. They said that we're allowed to stream. We're allowed to. It's fine. They want as many. I'm sure they'd be happy to have as many people streaming. They'll obviously have their official stream running, but I don't see why we can't. They have said to me that it's fine to stream. because I love this idea. I actually wanted to participate, but I lost track of it, and now registration's closed. But I'm excited to see it and see how the experience goes with you guys, and I'm also curious to see how the logistics of it works out, because
I know
that role. But
4 hours of setting up for it to crash.
What they are, like it's gonna be a challenge for them, but I admire them for tackling it, and it's such a good idea too.
I think we need as many support vehicles as possible. They said that you need only like a certain number of vehicles. I think we're going to probably need about 12 support vehicles and 12 vehicles, because you just hit 1 or 2 rocks and it's like it's game over. I think it's going to be a learning in here. I wouldn't be surprised if they allow us to have more than one team. I would like to have had more than one team, so you could potentially have another person run with you. So if you do crash, your teammate could kind of knock you and try and get you, because the game still doesn't have the mechanic to repair, which is coming supposedly in 2.6, and just to self-right the vehicle, just to find a way to just flip it back up onto its wheels. It's still not here. So
who gets
it's
flipped over?
Yeah, well,
nobody does.
I mean, in the meantime, I think it's cool to support vehicles' job to be like, hey, you flipped over, you got to get down there and help them out. That's a workable solution for now for racing. For just being out in the verse, yeah, they need to figure out some way to flip a cyclone over.
So if you've never done it, or you're interested in what it's about, you have no idea, there you go. There's the link in chat. It's for the www.demarrally.com. It's pretty straightforward. These guys have done a great job, in my opinion, of doing an external fan base kind of event and doing it really professionally as well. So good stuff. I'm looking forward to doing it. Do I have an RC Cyclone? No, Jester. We need to borrow one. Do you have one, Jester? Can we borrow yours? Do you want to drive? He's like, he said to me he works on Saturdays, but we'll have to, he's got 2. We need to get you to have a day off work. So wherever you are, we need to make sure that everyone knows where you are, so they buy loads of cars in the morning so you can just take your day off instantly, and come and do the Demar Rally. Just phone in sick or something, it'll be fine. Although America's a bit more strict, I think, on that stuff, but phone in sick, it's fine. Just say you got the Demar Rally to do. They'll understand. Make it like a really big thing, like it's kind of like the Dakar Rally, you've been training for it.
You're in a race.
You don't need to know that. Exactly. So let me go. Let's go to the doc. So that's the introduction and kind of the highlights and stuff. We go to Reddit. And what I've been noticing on Reddit, so this is the Reddit, so we're moving on to the Reddit section, then we have the soapbox section for anyone that's never been here, then we have questions, and we do questions as we go along, but the question form is broken, so just give me 2 seconds. I can manually give you guys the question. I'm having to do this proper old school here. So if you have any questions, please feel free to put it in there, and I will get to it as soon as I can, and we can go over it, or just a topic of conversation you'd like to discuss. It's absolutely fine. Or you can question. I'll try and pick it up in chat if we can. Sometimes it gets lost. That's why we do the form. But if you want to, question in chat as well. We'll try and pick it up in there as much as possible. Okay, so cargo gameplay happy. So this was interesting. So obviously I talk about combat a lot and how much I enjoy combat. But in Reddit, this person here, he says, I had a great hauling experience that I would like to share. And he says, so yesterday, one of those playings, updated the client, blah, blah, blah. I didn't want to concentrate, so I put on a film and I just loaded the game. Now I have 6.5 keys starting money, so with a Titan and a Max, and then I've never managed to get more than 10k before the next wipe because I lose all my money to cargo gear due to blowing up or client crashes and stuff. So here he is 3 hours later on 27k, just running between Port Olisar and other one, carrying medical supplies and scrap seamlessly with a big smile on my face. Well done, CIG, for currently making my dream game to where I can have a choice on how to spend my time and still enjoy every aspect of it. I'm looking forward to more additions for the year to come. Fantastic. So here's somebody who, just wants to chill and enjoy the space and just feel like he's in space, being a space hauler, a trucker, and he's getting that feel already, and he's really, really happy with it. So, like I said, good stuff. There you go, if that's what you like.
There's something for everybody.
Mm.
I think that's what's cool about the effort they put into the mining and the car loops is that if that's what you want to do, you want to slap on a pair of headphones and be out there, kind of just chilling, doing some industrial work, enjoying. It's compelling enough, like it's engaging enough to be enjoyable. It's not just like point a laser, hit a button, and wait. You actually have to participate in the activity. Yet it's not quite as high intensity unless you make it so as like other stuff like dogfighting or JT runs or whatever. So I think that part is awesome.
Yeah, exactly. So more to it. I mean, here's my thing: is how would you make cargo running? Because kind of I was looking at it, is how would you improve that? Like, how do you add to that experience? I'd love to know what chat's thoughts are. How would you make cargo running more enjoyable, more interesting? You know, what would be the things that you guys would want to see added to that game mechanic now to make it better?
That's a good question.
Okay,
I would
manual loading. Carry on. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean that would be more like immersive to see the loading happening and stuff. But I think from a gameplay standpoint, it's interesting to kind of compare running one thing to another. So JT, the way they've like worked out the supply and demand and to make sure it doesn't break the economy, such as it is that they make selling it really painful. Like buying it, the buying limits is fine right now because you go to JT, if you want to load it up 1 million UEC worth of cargo at JT, you better hold it. You better hold that site and protect it because it's going to take a hot minute to get all that loaded up, and that's fine. But on the other end, it's like I have to play Terminal Citizen for an hour if I have 1 million UEC worth of Widow in my cat. So that part of it is like not fun. I don't enjoy that part of it. It's not like part of being a cargo pilot type of a thing, in my opinion. So I feel like they could not have those limits on selling, because for every half hour that I'm sitting at a terminal, I'm not out there flying a ship for cargo, and that's the reason that you do cargo running, right? Not to sit at a terminal, but to go out and fly your cargo ship. So,
would you like to have it automatically being done then?
No, I just mean that like it's fine for it to take a while to load up on the front end, but I mean I would even be fine with it taking, like if I said, "Hey, I just got this load of cat, Widow and the cat. I want to sell it," and the guy says, "Cool, it's going to take us an hour to unload it." That would be cool. I'd be like, "Awesome, no problem. I'll go find another ship. I'll go fly that ship." But the fact that I have to babysit it at the terminal is like that makes it so that if I ever want to benefit, yeah, exactly. But as far as just content, like how to make the content more interesting, I think it would be cool to see like longer hauls, like make it worthwhile to do like these multiple leg hauls, and because that's one thing that Elite Dangerous, if you compared the two, we have probably as fleshed out a cargo system as Elite Dangerous, but not as long haul of a, like you wouldn't drive for an hour, you know what I mean? Like you'd have to do a lot of trips to run cargo for an hour. So
in terms of like an hour, here's my thing on this one. When you say like you're traveling for an hour, so are we talking like in quantum traveling for an hour, or are we talking about just kind of like
no, that's
kind of the overall the whole experience, like 10 minutes of this
balance.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. That would be the balance. Is like, how do you? Because you like you could do 20 trips back and forth between like Demar and Porto, but does that feel like you're long hauling with cargo? So maybe if there were these sites between here and Hurston that you actually had to stop at every so often, I don't know. It's a balance, because sometimes you want to just truck, like listen to tunes and be in quantum, and other times you want to actually fly the ship and do something. So
that's true. Okay. Bok, anything else?
I was thinking about picking up girls along the way.
So you want to go like pull into a rest stop and have some lady friends and pick up some ladies and take them on the way. They're coming. Female avatars coming in next patch, buddy. Oh. You can pick me up. I'll be my female character. No problem. We won't say anything. It will be fine.
No, but it's
and microwave hot pockets and the whole nine, huh?
Yep,
be fine. Yep.
No, I like Snake's idea about not being idle when loading and unloading the stuff, and being able to do something else. I
think personally they should have more goods to sell that are worth more, like to bring things a little bit more to a play. That would be nice to see, because at the moment, obviously, we've got Widow, and it's like, I don't know, it's it. I'd like to see a few other pieces that kind of make things more interesting for
that
cargo
can
hauling.
be implemented very quickly.
Yeah, just
Not
a bit more variety. Yeah,
it's not really an expansion on the gameplay mechanic of hauling.
no, but I would like to see more of it. It has an impact for me, in
more
terms of
version.
the whole,
Yeah.
to be able to, because like when I kind of go, right, okay, what do I want to haul? Like if I want to do the gameplay right now, I just go, fuck it, I just want to do Widow because I can get more money out of it. So it's not really giving me an immersive game experience. It's not making me want to keep doing cargo. Because in a way, I look at it, it's like I want to do all the different parts of the game, and I want to try and be excited to want to try something different, rather than it's a chore. You know what I mean? Like, on cargo feels like cargo hauling feels like a bit of a chore at the moment, just because I have to get the money, and I want it to be a little bit more enjoyable, and I want to have a bit more variety.
Yeah, you know what they could do to expand it is to make it a multi-crew experience. So they've got, like on the Cat, there are tractor beam stations, and it would be super cool if there were some valued payout for you to go in a cargo. It'd be sort of a hybrid of salvage and cargo, but in this case, you don't have to salvage anything. You go to some place where there might be a lot of cargo lying around, and you, with your crew members, you can't do it from the pilot's seat. You and your crew members go and scoop up cargo and tractor it into your hull, and then you go back and see what you've actually got in terms of sell prices. But make cargo a multi-crew activity like other gameplay loops are.
Yeah, cool. I think people have some nice suggestions about people like audio and stuff. I'd love them to have the radio in game as well. Like, I mean, we can do it ourselves, but it'd be kind of cool to have like a StarCitizen radio. I know that they've got the one currently that fan run and stuff. I've said before, I'm looking forward to when they enable you to be able to stream, watch your favorite streamer whilst flying or whatever. That would be sick through Twitch and stuff on your fucking screen, like in the corner and stuff. I mean, obviously people might not do it, but if they make it so it's really good and really enjoyable, like I could easily see people doing it. If it's a big enough screen and it's enjoyable enough and you can see it, like how freaking cool would that be? And like I've said before, we said this last week, people say, oh, it breaks the immersion. I'm like, no, you just make it so the guy looks like puts an old cassette in, like an old video footage, like from like 200 years ago, and he's, you're watching like an old rerun of something. There's clever ways to make it work. Right. What else? So again, I want to be fair on the show. I don't want to just talk about combat all the time. I want to show how the good things in StarCitizen, and I want to show that Reddit isn't that salty. We had somebody on the other day. I was on Moist Channel. We were talking to Cows from JR, and she was saying the same thing. She was saying that I think they were on Reddit, and they were saying how they had really great response on Reddit to their work, and how positive the reaction from Reddit had been to what they had been doing and all the rest of it. So Reddit isn't as bad as people think it is, and I think if you go on it now, you'll see more and more of that with all the pictures and the desktop screensavers showing how nice StarCitizen is visually.
Mm-hmm.
There's still a little bit there, but honestly, it's a positive. I think it's a positive environment generally to be at for the StarCitizen side. Right,
and a lot of new players joined. So
yeah, exactly. A lot of new players, and streamers. A lot of new streamers, a lot of new players. Yeah. It's been pretty exciting. Right, here's a question for everybody. Okay, so this was on Reddit. And somebody thinks that there was a leak. Now, I want to hear what you guys think. I know what Bok thinks. I'm going to see what Snake thinks. Now, this is really quite interesting. I like this because this is like a little bit of like, it could be true.
You heard it here first, chat.
Yeah. You hit it on Reddit first, and then I'm a bit late. Confirmed. Okay, now, if anyone's watched Band of Brothers, the show, like my wife loves Damian Lewis from Band of Brothers and Captain Winters. Yeah, she's just like... She loves Winters. She thinks he's awesome. Obviously the real dude as well. But she just thought the show was amazing. And I think Band of Brothers is an awesome show as well. Anyway, I think he's a great actor. He's British. We love him. And somebody reckons, obviously we've got Henry Cavill. I forget the gentleman's name here, but he's from Sliders. I always remember him from Sliders. He is, I know, a dwarf, but I always consider him from Sliders. That's the first place I remember him from. But then there's on the side here, somebody reckons that looks like Damian Lewis. What do you guys think? No. What do we think?
He's got red hair, and that's about it. There's no similarities in the two.
I could see the facial similarities a bit. Yeah, I mean, in the mouth.
He must have gained weight.
I don't think it's a particularly clear shot.
Not fully textured and all that.
But he's got blue eyes. He's got red hair without the beard. If you added like the little bit of the beard on there, I can see the similarity. Honestly, legit. I
mean, look at it this way. Does that guy in the back look exactly like Henry Cavill? Not really, but you can see it in his face.
If I look at Gimli, I don't know the name of the left guy, but that's spot on.
Yeah, but that's because he's got like a beard and mustache and stuff that really gives it away. Like that guy in the background, I think, looks Henry Cavill-ish, but doesn't look like a spot-on representation of Henry Cavill. But you can tell it's him. I would say in that, to the extent that he looks like Henry Cavill, that dude looks like Damian Lewis.
Yeah, I honestly, I think this is this shows the highest level of tier 0 as well. Spec'd up, I think here.
You're saying Damian Lewis or Alan?
Not Alan. Well, he's thinking originally. He's thinking it's Damian Lewis, but it could be. I think the reason why we have both of them here because I think these are both on the cards as possibilities. But he's going with Damian Lewis. But he thinks it could be either one of these two.
I'm staring at Alan's picture.
No, Alan. That's fine. You think it's Alan? Yeah. You're going for Alan. Okay.
I think it's more Alan than Damian. Sure, Damian's got this. His mouth is a little bit.
No, there would be both. Definitely.
I feel like his head or his face is slimmer. It's a little more chiseled, like narrower face than that.
Yeah, we'll see. We will see. But I think the lips look a little bit like Alan, but I feel the rest of it feels more like Damian. So I'm going to go with Damian.
Yeah, I can see where
I'm going to go with Damian over Alan, in truth, because I think if you look at the brow, if you look at the hairline brow on Alan, the distance, like I've got a big forehead, it's the same thing, whereas Alan's got a much shorter one, whereas Damian's got a bit more of a detox style. So I'm going to go with the increase. He's got the detox. Get some detox emotes in chat.
Wow.
Shout out.
Apologize. Rude.
He's done it. He's got the emotes. So yeah, I'm going to go with Damian on that one. But a really nice find. So the gentleman who found this on Reddit, I was like, dude, I didn't even notice that. So this is why I love Reddit, because people find things that you don't even see.
Yeah.
Which is great. So I hope it's true. I hope it is someone. I think it is. I mean, we've got a famous actor here. This has to be an actor of some kind and pretty famous as well, I'd imagine.
Can we just say we've been bashing on things that CIG hasn't accomplished yet, but they've got an unprecedented amount of recognized actors in Squadron 42. It is going to be incredible. There has never been a video game with so many.
Now, thanks to the connections of Chris, I think.
Yeah.
What's that?
No. Yeah.
The connections of Chris. No.
Yeah, I mean, it's just incredible. It could be really a cornerstone for video game entertainment, because currently to get all of those faces you expect to go to movies, but if they pull it off with Squadron 42, you will no longer have to only go to the movie theater to get your favorite actors and get incredible performances. You'll be able to go to your video game entertainment too.
I mean, I don't. Okay, here's my thought on it. I don't look at it as quite such like a kind of a cornerstone, because he's done it before with his previous Wing Commander series. Because he was the first person, in my opinion. He did it once before. It's a bit like kind of I look at it like an Offspring album. Offspring kind of do the same beats, but they release an album every 5 or 6 years, and then it's like, oh, it's totally fresh. But if you actually listen to them, you could probably stack them all up next to each other, listen to them one after another. And apart from Pretty Fly for a White Guy, everything else is pretty much of the same kind of beat. It's the same type of thing for me. It's like he did this before for Wing Commander. He's just dialed it up like fucking 20 knots.
That's true.
Like,
But I look at it like VR. VR was done before too, but it was never done like it is now. And it's now the world and the technology are both ready at the same time, whereas before they weren't really. And I think that with Wing Commander too, maybe it was ahead of its time, but people at that time, like video game entertainment was not consumed by every generation of the household like it is now. So you know what I mean?
I think the difference is then it was live video footage being put into a game, whereas now it's scanned digital polygons that look like them being made in the game, which is it's different in that sense. I mean, the idea in my head is the same because it's like I want to take famous people, put them in a game, and it will make the game even more immersive and your favorite actors in there, and it's cool. And then now it's like we can now with the technology make them look so realistic and so good and digital and all this stuff. It's different and the same, and really cool. I agree.
Oh, cool. I mean, you could have cameos in there that are not released until you actually experience the game. And the first like week, people are like, "Oh shit, Tom Cruise!"
yeah.
For sure. I hope so. I really do, and I think that's why. I mean, as much as like clever people doing the little sneaky here, which is great. I really hope there's going to be more secret people that we don't know about, which they've said there are. So yeah, definitely exciting, very exciting. Can't wait for it. 24 hours, 24 months, guys. 24 months is all that's left, they say. We have oh yeah, this is kind of crazy. Like somebody did a magazine. I'm not going to show the picture because they did a magazine shot for the clothes on Reddit in the game. I was like, wow, you got way too much time on your hands, sir. They like the jacket, the 987 Horde jacket so much that they made a Kasabian outlet. Actually, no, I'll give him the credit. Hang on, let me bring it up. They made a jacket advert for it, like a catalog one. That was really funny. I was like, we need to like do more catalog poses, like watch poses, like with the kind of or gun poses, like kind of James Bond or something. Or it's just hilarious,
man. Once the stuff is like pay to own, you're gonna be like, you want this cool ass jacketing game? It's the Matrix. It's the future, man. People are gonna be like, I want my avatar to look that good, and I'm gonna pay $20 for it.
Well, I will say I prefer this jacket to the one with the Citizen Con, the great big logo on the back. It's kind of like it's not really for me, that one. I like the more. This one is it's sleeker, but I understand the one. What else do we have on this glorious? EMP. Because I noticed you were flying in EMP today, Snake, as well. This is actually quite good. I'm looking forward to hearing your kind of thoughts. So somebody says, I picked up a Saber Raven today. I have never seen how EMPs work, so I've been experimenting a little. And it's pretty awesome. My question, though, is how do I manage the heat better on the Raven? I feel like when I use the EMP charge, I shoot a couple of times. My weapons are useless for a while. I had the braces overclocked, so I'm not sure to manage the ship, blah, 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 blah. So he's talking about EMPs. I'm not going to go into answering his question specifically because it's obviously about how to manage his ship. But I was going to ask, like, how do you guys feel the EMPs is running at the moment? And how does chat and also how does us as generally feel EMPs should be used and continue to be used and developed and worked on? Electronic warfare and how do you guys see it should develop and progress really over the next year? Should it progress at all this year? Feel free.
Bach answer first if he wants to.
Well, I've never flown an EMP ship. So,
have you been hit by an EMP ship?
Lots of times.
So
you know, it was just game over, man.
so you know that side. You know that side at least.
That
the frustration
side is very well known. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, a bit too overpowered, but yeah. Maybe the reload time of that thing should be longer.
Could be,
even more.
Yeah.
More so. Like what the Hulk? Because the Hulk's pretty brutal, but the Hulk is pretty quick. It's like, but it's not super powerful from what I understand, but it's still pretty useful.
Yeah, it's a combination of things. I think as a concept, the EMP is terrific. I've actually been talking a little bit about how, as I experience larger scale dogfights unfold, I start to notice this very cool role playing starting to happen where you're getting two groups collide and they're coming up with strategies to come out on top, which are much more complex than just bring out your best fighters. It's like, we want a tank out there, maybe a Starfarer or a 600 or even a miss that's just a missile ship that is a little bit tankier than a fighter capable of using missiles, which brings me to the missile. Granted, everybody thinks and agrees that missiles are garbage, but they do perform one interesting function, which is zoning. And zoning is a role-playing function of somebody in the fight. If they don't want to dogfight, maybe their job is to target specific individuals that are known to be better or more dangerous in the fight than others, and they try to zone them out temporarily, give their pilots another 10, 15 seconds to deal with other targets before that guy. Then there's EMPs, which are a different role altogether. They're a disabler that can't usually hang and fight real well, but they do perform a potentially very pivotal role. And then you've got the fighters that are flying around in circles trying to take each other down. And then you've got the big ships if they have, a hammerhead out there or something like that. So it's like you start to see this battle space unfold with sort of almost MMO-ish like roles that people can play if they want to. And last night I fought in a Hawk for a little while, and it was the EMP gameplay style is really satisfying. It's really a fun additional way to impact the battle that normally you're just turning, trying to gain, firing solutions, maybe launching a missile once in a while. But if you have an EMP on your ship, then you're also trying to look for opportunities to land that as well. And it may not be for you to take that guy out. It may just be to lower the shields. Because like in the Hawk, I was flying the Hawk. I don't have a Raven. I'd love to have a Raven at some point. But the Hawk, if you upgrade its components, for one thing, I should just mention the Hawk is much better now with better shields. Like they fixed the shield, so it's capable of fighting for a while. It's not just instantly touched and gone. And then if you upgrade components, which is an underutilized function of the game, people think it's not in the game. It is. If you upgrade all of its components, the EMP is a little bit stronger and the shields go up above 100% and stuff like that. So in spite of that, you land an EMP if somebody else has upgraded their fighter shields and stuff. It doesn't fully take off all their shields, much less disable their entire ship. So there's a lot of cat and mouse type of stuff with ship upgrades and all that, but it's not overpowered in my opinion. But anyway, I think it's a really cool additional mechanic of the game that feels like it adds another role player to a fight that normally that otherwise wouldn't have been there. It's just been a bunch of people spinning in circles trying to get firing solutions on each other.
Would you say it's where it needs to be? Would you say that it needs any improvements, or would you say just it kind of needs to be like Bok thinks it needs to be tweaked a little bit, so to maybe make it a bit harder? Were you happy with our ideas?
I don't feel like the people that I'm flying with that have Ravens are crushing everybody, and I certainly don't feel like I am in the Hawk. And to that end, it's kind of scaled. Like a Raven is capable of pulling shields off a medium fighter, but not capable of shutting one off. On a light fighter, they can completely shut it down. A Hawk can only pull shields off of like an arrow that's not upgraded, but can't shut the arrow down.
Okay. Yeah.
I did learn something new, which is apparently if you get hit by an EMP twice, your shields will not come back up until you like go in and like shut them off within the equipment menu, shut them off and turn them back on, like refresh them. Like you have to go deeper into your systems to unscrew them up if you get hit twice by one. But again, I feel like all that's more granularity in the mechanics of EMP. So I like it right now. I've come to enjoy it. But I also do a ton of ship modification. Like I'm constantly upgrading components and trying to figure out if another ship has upgraded their components and doing that sort of cat and mouse.
Which you should do. And that's the way that the game should be. That's if anyone thinks that it should be just buy your ship and that's the way, you should be always looking to tune things. I was looking recently at some builds as well and tweaking some things. I have to test it. I haven't been able to test it because of my arm, but once my arm's fixed, hopefully soon, I'll be able to test some things.
It's
but
so
yeah,
fun. So people underestimate that's in there. It's like you upgrade the components of your ship, the character completely changes. It becomes tankier. It becomes able to fight for longer. It becomes able to, shoot their weapons more freely. It becomes, faster or whatever. It's like it totally changes the character, and it's been so much fun to learn how to do that.
Well, it's like Moist was the other day. He was fighting and against cutlasses. I think he was popping them all. And he's like, "Oh, it's so easy. I can kill him." And then I fully military upgraded my cutlass and came in and fought him and killed him. And he was like, "What the hell? You know, like how the hell?" And I'm like, "Well, I changed my shields. I changed my power plant. I was running Omni Skies or Omni Skis, whatever you want to fucking call them." And you know, and suddenly, the next thing you know, it was like, "Oh shit, he's hitting me hard, and he's, you know, and he knows what he's how to fly." And you know, it's the same with an Aurora. I took an Aurora to the fight with him and like shit him up in his saber. I didn't win. I got killed because those things like will kill you. But he had to run away quite a few times, and that's the thing. It's the point. He had to change his flight style because he came in, and I had dominances on my little Aurora, all stops, military grade power plants, and everything else, and braces running. And like he came in close to me, and my poor little putt, you know, was like bang, bang, bang. Here you go. And that's the beauty of the game. It's like, and that's where I'm kind of curious with the EMP where it's going to go. Like, because at the moment there's kind of like you're set. Do you know what I mean? It's like you've got to need one EMP, maybe two. I'm curious if we're going to get more variety of EMP, different types of EMPs. I'm hoping we'll get obviously missile, potentially mini missile EMPs when missiles work better. At the moment, I don't know how many EMPs it takes to take a hammerhead shields down. I don't know if anybody knows in chat, but I would be fascinated.
Right now, size of EMPs in there. I don't think even because the Raven has 2 EMP gens and the Hawk has 1. And I don't know if their size differences are there, but I think they have to be careful with it with large ships. I think it would be good for it to be like a chip damage thing to shields, similar role to like the scattergun weapons and the things that are kind of designed to take shields down. But you do have to be a little careful. I think with large ships, you don't want it to be as easy as sending in, you know, a Raven with somebody else and they just blast it and then easy peasy gone.
Maybe there's a ship. Maybe you get like a variant of like a Saber, no, the Eclipse, because the Eclipse is a torpedo bomber. Maybe there's a variety of that bad boy becomes a stealth bigger EMP vehicle, and that bad boy comes in to take out those, you know, it's stealthed up to shit, and it's got a giant EMP thing on it, and it's designed to take down the shields of hammerheads and bigger class ships. And here's the thing, for me at the moment, we don't have the armor in, so when you take the shields off something, it goes pop fairly quickly because there's no real armor in any of these things. But once you get the armor into play on some of these ships as well, then the gameplay is going to change again, because things like the 600i won't go so pop so quickly. Things like the hammerhead as well, you take the shields off, then you've got to hit through the armor, and then there's going to be people mad scrambling on board to maybe get the power going again, to get the shields back online so they can protect the, you know, all that good stuff. So I'm excited about it. I'm excited, but they do need to have to take down bigger shields, in my opinion. There's not they need to have something to take the bigger shields down a bit.
Yeah, I guess we're testing that with small shields, right? Makes sense.
But then, how do you make it so it doesn't take everything else out? Sorry, Book. Sorry, I was thinking, how do you take it out?
From what I understand from Snake's story is that EMP lost a little bit of its strength. I was talking about my experience in 263. When just a single EMP just completely obliterated my Hornet. So if it takes 2 tries to get your shields knocked out, that's fine with me. That sounds like fun gameplay. Because back in the day, it was just like the I win button and you were done.
Yeah, I definitely don't feel like it's like that. Like for example, is the Warlock's EMP stronger than the Raven?
One hit with a Warlock will still take a bigger shield. Yeah. Kind of will fry you, and I think the Raven as well. But the thing is, the recharge takes a while.
It depends on your shields, though. So, as an example of sort of the back and forth of all the components, if I go in with a Hawk and I'm targeting an arrow, normally a stock arrow's shields will go down with a Hawk EMP. If I blast that guy with an EMP and it doesn't take his shields down, I tell everybody else, okay, this guy's not running stock shields, so I'm either going to need more help with this guy, or I'm going to hit him again, but he's got stronger shields than stock shields. I may have to switch targets and slide to another target. Yeah. If I'm running a Hawk and I go after the glaive, which can get shut down, but then maybe I go for that guy first because you can't upgrade that. But if they've got a scythe, they can upgrade the shield gens on the scythe, which is one of the things that's been a popular topic on my stream lately. Is is the scythe better than the glaive, or at least equally as good as the glaive? Very interesting food for thought based on its statistics and its upgradability versus the glaive. But that brings in the glaive. So okay, that brings in the scythe. So okay, the glaive is getting EMP'd. Now we need scythes because we need to upgrade the shield gens, which makes it more EMP resistant. But then you bring in the Raven, and the Raven's got a stronger EMP than the Hawk has. So once the Raven comes out here, now what are we talking about? Now we need medium-sized fighters with upgraded shields, because the Hawk will shut down a medium-sized fighter potentially with a direct hit. So it's like this is the cool back and forth tactical decision making that comes from this much deeper component system that a lot of people don't realize already exists in the game. It's been super fun to mess with lately.
Yeah, definitely gonna try that out.
It is fun. I mean, I've noticed how frustrating it is in a combat situation getting EMP'd. You know, when it's flowing well in tandem, you no matter how good you are, it's a real challenge, because if you've got someone's running a scythe and someone's running an EMP hawk, you don't know necessarily who to sometimes focus on now, because if you ignore the hawk and focus on the scythe, the hawk's going to get you. If you focus on the hawk and try and get out as quick, the reality is you want to get rid of it as quickly as possible. But if it's a good pilot and you can't hit them, the scythe is sniping your ass from 300, 400 feet with 2 size 5s. And so, or the glaive or whatever. So, it's a saber with Omnis guys, if they're good, so you're really up against that. In that fight, you're really up against it. And I generally, it's a real challenge. And nine times out of 10, I'll probably die in that situation, in truth, because they will tag me. And in Atmosphere, it's even worse. Space, I've got a better odds. Atmosphere, movement is limited. It is a great combination for taking out people. Really
don't get me wrong. EMP, you can get absolutely nutted with an EMP. Like, if it takes you out, you're done. And not just your own. I mean, not just enemy EMPs either. Like, I had a funny little anecdote where I got in over my head. I was flying around with my scythe, and it was like Top Gun. It was like there's 4 of them flying around, one of me, and I tagged one of them. I was fighting with a glaive. But I'd collided midair as well. And so we were both sort of flying out of control. And my wingman saw that I'm in bad shape. He was in a Raven, right? So he's like, this is not going to be an easy EMP to hit, but this may be his only chance. Really bad situation. So I'm going to do a flyby, and I'm going to hit these guys with this EMP. And he did. Unfortunately, he hit me too. So, in spite of his best intentions and maybe my one true shot out of that bad fight, he ended up getting me. And so that's an added, the friendly fire aspect of it too is a whole nother consideration when employing it as a tool. So it's kind of fun. It's kind of a cool mechanic right now. Yeah, I think.
Yeah. He lucky he was in the Raven. I mean, unlucky obviously he got close enough to hit you, because he made the right choice to do it, because the Raven's got the smaller range on the EMP. If he was in the Warlock's got an even bigger range, so it's going to hit everyone. It's got I can't remember exactly the numbers, but if you take one out, it's on the numbers it says the range of it, the radius range is like another 500 I think meters, so it's quite substantial, which is good. We have to think strategically. For sure. Right, so we have a few more things. Which we'll talk about later on. I'm just looking at the time, making sure we're kind of staying on track for time. We have the soapbox section, which is kind of my soapbox section today is pretty limited. I have one thing, which is the shift of gameplay from space to land, and how far should it go, and what equals a balance between the two. That's kind of my soapbox moment, really. It's like, I know what we have to do, and there will be, I think, a little bit of a shifting constantly through the game between a focus of okay, we're focusing now on ground. Okay, now we're focusing on space. Like, what is too far? I bought a space game. I didn't buy a land-based game. Originally, that's what I bought into. So I'm kind of, I don't want it to become all land-based, you know what I mean? And it's fun, it looks great, and I see a lot of videos being made nowadays with people doing all this action on planets and stuff, and then spaceships flying over the top and all this stuff. I'm like, that's cool, but I did buy a spaceship game, and I really want to make sure that that's fucking awesome too, right? So anyway, that's I worry. Like, do you think it could go too far one way, or what's your thoughts?
I don't think so.
I don't feel like they're prioritizing it that way, to be honest. I think it's always going to be a ship first, land warfare second game. But for them to, it would have to be an incredible amount of content on the ground that they inject into the universe for it to like outstrip the ship stuff.
Yeah, but it's meant to be coming, right? We talk about we want to have more things on planet, we want to have more things to do on the ground, we want to have more things. I mean, we do talk about it a lot more. Then sometimes we talk about things that we want to do in space. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes it's like, because space is empty. So it's like we don't really, we don't talk as much about things we want to see in space. It's like it's easy to say, oh, we want this on land, and we want ships and buildings and this and that and NPCs and it's all this stuff. And it's like, well, I wonder how, if they do all of that, how much of the game will be spent then. You may end up finding more of your time spent on land and less time spent in space. It's just a thought. It's a very long way away, I know, but it was just something I was thinking about as the game is fleshing out more and more, and we're seeing more and more kind of game mechanics and stuff. If there will come a point when StarCitizen will be seen more as a land-based game and less of a space game. Space game.
I think there
or
will
more of
be
a sci-fi
players
game.
that will spend all their time on a planet or a moon, and there will be a lot of players who spend their time mostly in space. I think there's going to be, well, maybe not a balance, but a big difference between the two. It really, just like Slacky TV says, it depends on the player, really.
Okay.
I think an ancillary benefit, though, from focusing some on land is that there's supposed to be ship-based combat too. It's still FPS, but it's in space, and I think that could be a benefit. That comes off of developing that land piece. They can just apply that into like capital ships or whatever, and it'll still feel really good. So you'll still have these ship or these space-based scenarios, but they'll be more polished because they've already polished off the ground stuff. I don't know.
It's right. It was one of those, like, I was just thinking about it the other day, and I was just like, I wonder if there'll ever be a case where StarCitizen will be seen more, I mean, less of a space sim, less of a space combat game, and more of a pure science fiction game, or maybe go swing more into more of a land-based game. It was just a thought. It was just something I wanted to discuss on the box, really.
Yeah. You could make the argument that it's supposed to, like as an MMO. Maybe. An MMO means you embody your avatar, not your ship, or not the flying you do in your ship or whatever. So you could make the argument that their intention is to fully make it more linked to the ground, grounded, if you will.
Yeah. And could that turn off people? Would that, could it turn, if they're focusing on that, will it, we'll know more later. Just something to think about. It was a very brief thing. Maybe we'll touch on it another time. Does anyone else have something burning desire that they'd like to bring to the table in the soapbox moment? Yeah, I've got a burning sensation in my arm right now between here and fucking here. It's killing me. StarCitizen, the W button, like, stop making me run. Give me an equals button that makes my character run all the time. I have got a repetitive strain injury. Carpal tunnel syndrome from fucking pressing that button so much. I'm in pain, beyond pain right now. So thank you, StarCitizen.
So you're gonna give you LTI on your health?
Fucking need to give me LTI on my arm. Could just like
get it amputated, get rid of it. Be done.
I'm like literally here, just sat here, just like, I've been putting this shit on it to death. It makes no difference. Red heat bomb. It is. That's the reason I can't stream at the moment, guys. Is I play 5 minutes with my hand today to set up my pedals, and I was literally wanted to roll around on the floor crying like a schoolgirl because my fucking arm was so sore. Anyway, sorry. Carry
on. Bach, you have a soapbox thing?
Yeah, you have a soapbox thing?
No, I had put something in it, but it was basically ATV stuff, and Madness pulled it out. I saw.
Did I?
Yeah.
I didn't realize.
Yeah. All of a sudden it was empty, and you put it in your own soapbox.
Hang on. No.
Copied it in your soapbox. Well, it's okay.
Where?
It's ATV stuff.
Which one was it?
Female character.
Oh, sorry. I didn't do it on purpose. It moved.
No issues. No, I was thinking about something like an hour ago, but I lost it. Can't remember what.
Okay, don't worry. Hang on. I think we might have it saved. Hang on. I may have saved it because I always save each one. So let me just.
You want me to go? Wow, you guys.
We're having a moment.
You want me to do mine while you guys?
I didn't save it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, hang on. I didn't save it. Sorry, Buck.
Buy you some time.
Yeah, you go, Snake, and then Buck. We'll come back to it, mate. If you got it, you sort it out. So I'm so sorry. My bad. I did not realize.
So mine is something that like I get roasted on my channel now for. It's become meme-ish, but I got one night I knew this was going to happen too. The second I started getting triggered about it and going off on it, I'm like, this is a mistake. But it happened. So it was the end of a night, and I'm tired or whatever and stuff. So I start totally tilting on MobiGlas, right?
Yeah.
Like it won't open, it won't work, as if it's any different than any other day we've flown. But it does sort of highlight, like I started going off on this tangent that I do actually think has some merit, and this is what it is that most games, when they are 24 months or less out from shipping, at the very least have a menu system locked up. Like we were talking about earlier, boom, I can stamp this ready to ship. The menus should be fucking ready to ship by now. And so my feeling is that maybe they should say, just like they did with VR, like VR ready, that's a stretch goal. Cool. Shelf it for now, stretch goal. Keep it in mind when you're developing, but shelf it for now. The MobiGlas rather, I feel like is like that. I feel like, sorry CIG, I love you, but I should not have this much trouble entering menu systems. Imagine if you had this much trouble hitting escape and going to like the options menu, or hitting escape and going to the quit game menu. Can you even imagine if that menu worked the same way? But it doesn't. It works fine. So if, I may be totally wrong because I don't know what backend, I don't know what's causing those errors in MobiGlas, but I would prefer if they shelved the whole arm animation thing and was just like, it was like a typical games menu. You hit the menu, pops up. When it's open, it's going to look exactly the same as an open MobiGlas anyway, and make it just, the heat map of what we do every day we fly in StarCitizen is clearly most concentrated on the menu. There's nothing we access more than the menu system. It would just be really nice if that was a thing that didn't cause aneurysms in your brain when you try to do it. You know what I mean?
I agree. Yeah.
I think it's again the whole MobiGlas scenario is again of them CIG's overt need to super complicate things. Yeah, like most normal people would have just made it a button and then you go to another screen and then and then you do whatever you need to do in there. Whereas obviously they can't do that. It has to become like, an arm thing. But the thing I hate the most about it is the fact that it's an arm thing, but I can't move. So it's like, it's clear. It's the idea you'd be able to see, so you kind of wander around and do things like kind of with it or kind of to the side and stuff, or maybe you could kind of move it off to the side and do things. It's like, it has all the limitations of having just a screen pop up. Like as if it was old school. It's like there's nothing. I don't see the real benefit. Like maybe somebody in chat could tell me, but what is the real benefit of why I need to see my arm pop up when I can't even move around? Unless they're going to make it so we can actually move around with a MobiGlas. It just feels like they could have saved themselves a heartache and just had a fucking screen pop up. And
it's just the immersion thing, but
yeah. And
for me, it really puts off is just the fact that the readability, for instance, it's crap. It's all holographic. Yeah,
just say what you feel, man. Say the truth.
Opened up everybody's wounds.
Yeah,
like, the MobiGlas is shit. Hey, what was it before? What was it before? Buck, do you remember? Before the MobiGlas. Does anyone remember what it was before?
No, can't remember. But the only thing I always bitch about is visibility, readability in the game. That's just something. They're complete amateurs, if you ask me.
It was the use button was what we had before. play. I don't care.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, I just feel like there's some things that shake confidence, and when you can't reliably access menus, like core menus of the game, that's kind of like, I mean, that should be on lock. Like the first thing that happens when a game gets developed is people can reliably maneuver the menus in the game. The graphics may not be there. The whole, the physics in your game may not be there, but you can go through the menus. You can for sure do that. And they don't even have that right now. So that's kind of why I'm like, maybe they should deprioritize, the virtuality. That's not a real word, but I'm inventing one.
Now it is.
It's totally a word now. And just kind of put that over there with like the VR readiness side of the house. Come back someday, circle back around on that someday, and then just have like a typical menu system that is easy and reliable to use every time you open it.
And doesn't open up twice, for instance.
Help us out, Reddit. Help us out. Go on Reddit. Try to upvote
Get
this.
it going. I think it's okay. The MobiGlas is clearly a tier 0. Tier -1 would be the way to describe MobiGlas. No, I'm going to give it, like we had before. People have to remember, we had the use button before, which was the biggest troll on the planet and wasn't great. Now we have the MobiGlas, which is meant to obviously improve certain things. I think for me, there's a lot of problems. The mechanic of it broken. There's tons of bugs on it. It's really, like I said, the lack of movement in terms of when you've got it on to be able to run, to because like I said, time is precious. Every time I fucking stop. It's like I want to keep going at the action of what I'm doing. I can look at my phone and walk, so why can't I look at my MobiGlas and walk? It's the same. Yes, okay, maybe I could bump into people, but hey ho, that's part of life.
But you can't see shit. You can't see.
You can see through. I can see roughly.
Yeah, see through.
You can see roughly what's going on. It's fine. But I want that feature.
Blind.
To be able to. Yeah, almost. But that's okay. That makes for fun. Fun moments when you walk off a cliff by accident or something in the game.
I don't need the MobiGlas for that.
But I'm with you, Snake. I think the same thing is like there should be. We said about this show, and I think it's kind of a clear message. Is like we really do feel like there should be some key things that should be dialed in now. Like we keep saying it, but it's like there should be some things that are dialed in pretty close to being like, this is fucking good. This is working well. It just feels there's still too much for me. That is just the moons coming in to fly into a moon is dialed in and looks fucking amazing. I want my MobiGlas dialed in looking really good and spot on, I really do want it. I don't want the constant arm fucking coming back down again 20 times, I really would like that bug to be gone and work really well, I agree.
Oh yeah, the holo map Slaggy says that's gonna be the next disaster.
Yeah, another whole load of problems.
The next disaster.
Oh my god. Exactly, it's like master of none. Just a jack of all trades and master of none. It's the MobiGlas is full of bits that all tend to be broken. Now, again, I don't know. I've not made any games. Like, that's maybe how it's done. You do a little bit here, do a little bit here, do a little bit here, do a little bit here. Get it all in. Maybe it's broken, and then you then build and fix and build and fix and build and fix. Maybe that's how it's supposed to be done. I don't know. I've never built a game. I would be curious. I'm learning. By the end of this game, I'll know how to make a game. That's for sure. Or how not to make a game.
Yeah, as it were. Ayo.
Ooh, ayo. So yeah, I'll see. But yeah, I'm with you, dude. That definitely is worthy of this of a soapbox for sure. MobiGlas, fix that fucker. Yeah. Okay, Buck. What was it? Did you want to go for it? Go for it.
Well, what the frick is going on with the fan kit?
Oh, the fan. Yes, because Miss was like this as well. Yeah.
Oh, I was a little worried when I was like, this better be like a 30 gigabyte download, and it was like 500 megabytes.
Yeah,
I'm like,
I was so disappointed.
Oh boy.
It's like, yeah, what is this? A couple of wallpapers, some music, and the holo viewer models, and
I got it here. It's it's the audio files. So you get some music, you get holo viewer, you get logos, a lot of the logos, you get wallpapers, and then you get the Frankfurt Agreement, Frankfurt Notes, and the Frankfurt Guidelines.
Yeah,
but they're not I haven't seen them, but I assume they're the wallpapers or some of the wallpapers that are on the like sub page sub perks page, which are like super old and stuff. And then this is another soapbox. I go and I watch like the Round the Verse or like the Calling All Devs, and I see screens back there with sick ass desktop backgrounds. I'm like, CIG, your devs are using wicked desktop backgrounds. Put those on in Vault, dude. Well, the ones we've got are like garbage. What are you talking?
Starburger, he made a YouTube video about those logos, for instance, and the 3D models. And can we actually use it as a streamer now, or can't we use it because as a streamer and you're partnered, or you have what's the other?
It's half-assed again, Buck.
It's just.
It's half-assed. It's half-assed. It's unclear. It's so much grey area again. Carry on. Sorry. It's just.
I don't dare to show you my hammerhead right now because we can get banned or sued by CIG. I don't know what I'm up to now.
Show us it. Let's have a look. Come on, bring it on. Let's have a look. It's on my channel. It's fine. Go ahead. It's my channel. It's not your channel.
Yeah,
Go have a look.
Okay.
Let's have a look. No, but whilst he's away, the Bok, as I agree with him though. Like it's. Again, it's like, why isn't it dialed in 100? Like, it feels like it's still amateur hour for something that's a 500 huge corporation. It still feels very, just like done in a basement by a small team.
It just feels like they've yet to put anything in that they can hang their hat on. You know, it's I guess visually speaking. Oh,
look at that! That's looking good, man.
Yeah. Did you print that?
Yeah. It comes in several pieces.
So friggin' good.
That's looking good, Buck. That's looking really good.
Well
can
done.
I 3D print my glaive and we can come in and then blow it up and kind of pretend.
If there's a model
we do pretend pew 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 pew. I'll put it on my screen. I think I'll get a glaive and something.
I can't sell it. Not that I wanted to.
No.
But they're really unclear what the deal is now with that stuff. So
well, I definitely I think it's like sometimes I think that they're just stretched too thin. I mean, you look at the value that their website offers. Some things are good. I mean, you know, you can buy stuff, I guess, and whatever, but other parts of their website are almost not worth going to. You know, like I think the Mustang probably still has imagery from the original Mustang. It's like, well, I guess that's not going to change. The stats are never up to date. The desktop backgrounds and the sub perks aren't worth looking into. You know, it just seems like they're stretched too thin on some things, which is all the more reason to like knock out one thing at a time and get it, you know, locked in and then move on.
You would have thought.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing, right? Like I said, I mean, I think they've got a big job to do. The guys that do the webpage, and I think the guys, what's the name of the company again? Someone, please, because my brain has left me right now. What's the name of the guys that do all the webpage and the Spectrum and stuff? I forget the name. It begins with a T, isn't it? Or something?
Canadian guys.
Someone in chat will remember. But anyway, those guys, Turbulent. Thank you. Yeah. Those guys, like, you know, we were promised a new webpage. Okay, I'm not being funny, but that new webpage was literally just wrapping paper around the same webpage. You know, it was, as soon as you get past the wrapping paper of the shiny outside, it doesn't, and then they made it so that you could look at it on your phone, which is good. Don't get me wrong, which is good. It's still the actual content that's on there wasn't really updated at all. Like Snake says, like the information is still old, the pictures are still old. You know, there's so many things on there. In my opinion, if you're getting like 1,000, 4,000 people on Twitch and they're sending people to their webpage, I've said this again, that webpage should be dialed in, should be clear, concise. It should be really simple for people to understand. It should have all the correct, up to date, as best as it can be, information for ships and prices, and everything else should be dialed in. It should be really clear. The law information should be dialed in. It should be really clear. All this fan stuff should be clear. Yeah, it should be absolutely fucking bang on. Bang, bang, bang. For like a company that's 200 million money, is a staff revenue of 5, it's got 4 offices around the world. It ain't fucking garage stuff anymore. Seriously, this is not like wing, whatever it was, hangar fucking bullshit. This is a big company now, and it should be dialed in 100%. So, you know, that's the way I look at it. And the webpage definitely needs to be I agree with Snake. It's just like
Yeah.
it's
What do you think
embarrassing.
about the mobile app?
Which one?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Please tell me which one. The mobile app.
That was
Let's
2
not-
years
let's-
ago that they promised that, or 3 years.
They'll. I don't want them to do a mobile app because it'll be another
No.
half-assed, non-finished piece of
yeah,
garbage.
exactly.
It's like
Don't do it.
don't do it.
Spread
Just
too thin
finish the
already.
whip. Just and like they want to make Spectrum be this amazing new Discord. They want to bring in VoIP and FOIP, which is doing a good job, by the way. I think it's definitely kind of there. But they want to bring that into Spectrum. That is a huge job. Like and they're having to run the web page. Like I said, spread too thinly, I think sums it up beautifully. I think especially if Squadron 42 comes out, like that web page has got to be tightened down so much more. People that want to get into anyway. We'll see how it goes, guys. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does get to a point where you almost hope that they don't announce new features and you don't want them. You don't want them because it's like
just
let's
focus.
Let's focus it a little bit and
First base stack.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, we need new features in the game, but yeah, there's certain things outside of the game with different departments that I just feel like the webpage should be just fucking locked down. It should be up to date. Like we have, like in my footwear team, we have somebody who works solely with the community, and their job is to look at the webpage, make sure all the information is up to date. They have a team, that's what they do all the time, is just to make sure that information is, that's their job. They're paid to do that. That's what they do. I just don't understand why they don't have somebody that does that, make sure all the information is bang on all the time. I don't know how hard it is to put some coding and type words. I still struggle with that, to understand why that's so difficult. And update pictures doesn't feel difficult.
It's part of their hiring effort. We know they're still trying to expand their workforce, and maybe that's part of it. So hopefully,
maybe.
That's it.
You know how hard it is, Madness. You misspelled my name twice.
Yeah, but I don't mind spelling it wrong. If they wouldn't hire me, dyslexic person who's a drawer. That is I'm the worst person to hire. I would never apply for that job. But I know what you mean. You're right. Yeah, mistakes. There are plenty of spelling mistakes in the game. That's for sure. Okay, so that's the little spoke box area. We now go on to questions. So this is some of the questions that we've picked up as we've been going through, and some of the questions that previous people have sent me through Discord and other places. So the first question.
Well, sorry to interrupt, but what was soapbox?
His soapbox was the fan kit. The fan kit.
Oh, the fan kit.
Yeah,
I thought it was female characters. I was like, oh wait.
Well, yeah, originally
it.
I put that in, he deleted it, but it's basically ATV content.
It's ATV. Actually, we can do ATV. We'll do ATV quickly because there was actually a few things on ATV that was quite good. So we have the female model. So fuck it, let's do it whilst you're here, Bok. Let's do that. Yeah, let's do that. So we have the female model. So what do you think of the female model, firstly? What did you guys think about it? Like the animation and stuff?
I really like the animation. That's not being showed yet.
It's coming. There she is. Boom. She's got some
see
good
it yet.
thighs. She's got some good thighs on her, that girl.
Yeah.
Good, strong. She's got a pretty face. I was like, she looks like nice, looks sexy, looks like a woman. I thought, yes, lovely.
Yeah, I mean,
we're talking about the bone structure, of course, and you can actually quite see that really well in the animation.
This is where things kind of go a bit weird for me, okay? So, so for what was taking years and years of supposedly focusing on animations and stuff, this walk, what the fuck?
Which walk?
Well,
That
they
walking like a man.
in there though too that they weren't making all new animations for women, and my concern there is women definitely move differently than men. So if you're not going to, I get it, you got to redo some of the skeletal structures and stuff like that. But if you're not going to rework animations for women, I mean, it's
That's
not going to ring
bullshit, Snake.
true, potentially.
The excuses why we didn't have the women's model was because they wanted to do all the animations for the female figures, because they wanted the female figures to be unique from the men's. So then suddenly, X number of years later, the reasons of excuses of why we haven't got female models to then come out and say, oh, it's because, now we're making it so that it looks like, it's like, well, what the fuck have you been doing? Like, that's ridiculous in my mind. I'm like, this ridiculous. And then I just, the way she walks is just so weird on that first walk.
They're not completely reworking the animations for women. They're like adapting them or something like that, which maybe that'll work and maybe it won't. I don't know. But like in this case, the animation doesn't have to be that different when you're getting onto a bike, but when you're walking, it should look like a woman walking versus a man walking. It's just an anatomical. You know what I mean? It's not about.
She's got fucking Frankenstein feet on, dude. Like, it's literally, she's wearing her foot is about to be snapped off at the ankle as she's kind of moving to the right here. Now I know it's work in progress. But somewhere it says work in progress.
Do I understand you correctly that you don't think she looks much more beautiful in the second walk?
Okay, so here's where we talked about this. I have to be really careful about where I go with this conversation, because I did a huge pre-warning in Discord between Toby and Bok, and they've all told me to be careful what I say here, and because my tact is lacking, so I got to be careful.
Careful as Toby.
Okay, so here's that's. I know. That was the male version. Target for male, I know, and then this is the target for the female. But when you actually look at it, that's my point. My point was that it looks really. That's what I'm saying. The ankle looked really weird, and then if you look at the female version, it is much improved. However, which I like. However, it's still on the. She's got a funny ass bend down here, and I think that might be whoever they chose to do the mocap. It's a little bit of a funny old bend on the ankle walk, which is really weird. I mean, I'm being hypercritical here, guys. Sorry, that's just me.
That's overpronation, or what do you call it?
It's to do with the way
shoulders. She's really swaying with her shoulders, and it's looking much more female-like. And
I haven't got the video here, but I think this is Sandy Gardner. I think this is Sandy Gardner's walk. Okay? And here's my thing on this one, and this is where we're getting with the conversation, and I'm going to try and be really careful how I say this, okay? So that I don't say something incorrect, but I'm just so you aware, I'm trying to get this correctly said. Now, historically, this is what I'm saying. I gotta be so fucking careful how I say this.
Don't be afraid, just say it.
Okay, all around, all right, okay, you're scientists, and you are discovering bones of people from different parts of the world, okay? You can tell the place of origin from these people based on their bone structure and the way that their bones are. Now, Sandy's comes from the Far East. Her bone structure comes from the Far East. So her walk, gait, whatever you want to call it, has a very particular way of moving and walking. She's still a woman, but her gait is very different to that of someone from, say, north of the planet, or someone from south. I'm being really careful because I don't want to offend anyone. South, because I said race in the thing, and they said, you can't say that, it's terrible, it's the worst thing to say. So, but I'm like, so what I'm saying is she is that feels to me like an Asian woman's walk, and that's fine if they're going to do Asian. But I wonder if they were going to get to the same level of detail for like different people from different parts of our planet, or whatever you want to call it, or races or whatever. So if they're going to change it up, because I know that's one type, and I feel like if they're going to, it just feels like if we're going to have different walk gaits, is what I'm trying to get to. Are we going to get different walk gaits for different types of race? Or are we going to have one? Because, yeah, I'm trying to be really careful.
Yeah, I mean, it's looking good. It's looking like it's going in the right stuff. I was actually more basing it on what they said, which is that they weren't reworking it completely for females. They were just sort of adapting it. And if it works, then fine. You know, that's what do I have to care about their methods?
The time they spent, Snake. You know, they said they've told us for 2 years it's been we're working it for this and this and this, and we're going to get it.
I wonder if the juice is worth the squeeze on some of these things, like the DNA or the shifting animations for female versus males, and maybe they are on the verge of something groundbreaking for the game industry, and it wouldn't be the first time they've done it. So they've got some credibility in that area. But this does start to get into that realm where it's like, had females in video games for a long ass time. We've had lots of character customization in MMOs for a very long time, and we have one male body type, and we're about to maybe kind of hopefully someday have a one female body type. And it's like, we're behind, man. We're behind on this. I mean, this has been on lock for a while in other franchises. So.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's my frustration with it. It's like, when I saw it, I was like, you're telling me that like it's taken you, the delay for getting to this state and to this standard is being like 1.5 years or whatever it was. Like, seriously? And like, now you're telling me that you're going to make it so that a percentage of this is going to be a male already anyway, going to be that male anyway. I'm like, come on.
We've got a lot of other games with female characters in it. How many of them show armor clipping through each and every part of the armor? And how about StarCitizen? We're gonna find out, because I think there's less armor clipping in the game for a female character than in other games.
That's the idea, and they're also trying to reduce the effort to make armor and items, right? Like, they're trying to make it so that where in World of Warcraft you had to have the artists make separate items for each model versus this, where they're trying to make it so the armor artists make one set of armor and it adapts automatically, which I think is a great idea. It's a great, maybe, like I said, maybe another 6 months down the line we'll be like, man, that's brilliant.
Yeah, but I think it will, because most of the time in other games it will be stretched and it doesn't look quite well, and I think that CIG is just designing it in the smart way, and that takes time. That's how I think think of it, right. And that's just
I'll give them the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah. It's that counts for all of them.
If the females come out anytime soon, I mean, again, we're 24 months out from. I mean, I guess the females are in the game; they're just not playable. But we're technically 24 months out from people being playable females. So.
Again, I think that's the reality. I think you nail on the head, Snake. It's the same thing now. Now it's like the drum, like the someone is bashing the drum, saying, "Come on, the game has to be done now." And it's like, you've been dicking around. It's like me when I was a teenager, before I did my exams, and we do fuck all for ages, and then all of a sudden, lastminute.com, I'd suddenly have to rush it and kind of squeeze it in. I sometimes wonder if that's what's kind of like, I just feel like. Maybe there was a lot of experimentation and wishful thinking, and we'll try this and we'll try that and we'll do this and it's that, and it's like a kind of an Italian meal, It's like this and try a bit of this.
Maybe
everyone's having a good time,
Such is the way that groundbreaking advancements in this stuff happens. I mean, we didn't see all the amount of nonsense that Blizzard had to do to figure out how to bring WoW to market, and because it wasn't developed in the open. So who knows? Maybe it's just I still have a huge amount of faith in them, and people are, people still, it still doesn't, it's not Scam Citizen or whatever, but it does feel like, we would definitely like some victories. You know what I mean? Like as fans of the game, we're looking now in the next, 12 months for like some solid victories to be like, hey, we crushed this piece. Dialed in, it's ready to go, ready to ship. We're moving on to this other piece, but boom, this is it. We've got this on lock.
Okay, so moving on from what we just saw, which is again one of those wonderful moments of, we told you probably didn't need to overthink it, and you overthought it, and now you're actually coming to a halfway in between. Guess what's happening again? It's called the Grav-lev system. Another shining example of overthinking something and then coming back to a reality of realizing that you didn't really need to overthink it. Could have probably gone with a system that was a bit more like what we were been telling you from the moment we saw it, like other games had done, but hey ho. So they've obviously, with the new flight model, they've said they obviously have to change the Grav-lev system. That, and the fact that the person that did the Grav-lev system no longer works for CIG, convenient, is the rework for the Grav-lev. So we all know how difficult and how kind of annoying the Grav-lev is. So they showed us on the ATV the old Grav-lev system, which was kind of just like flying over things, which is kind of just didn't feel great. You know, you didn't really get like that immersive kind of feeling. It just felt like a spaceship. Whereas now they're going for this, what I guess feels more like we all wanted it to, closer to the ground. We've got this kind of the side strafing thing kind of going on, kind of like a jet ski in water, which is pretty cool. I can't wait to try that out to see what that feels like.
Yeah,
but then it is fun. You get much more kind of like sensors, like you feel like you're on the ground a little bit more, you know, or closer to the ground, you know, which I think a lot of people kind of wanted. That sense of speed comes from that.
Definitely needs to just be fun to drive, just like the Cyclones on Demar are just like just wicked fun to drive. You skid out on them and you jump off of stuff, and that's all that matters. We're in a sci-fi environment. Just make it wicked fun to pilot it, and you know,
looks more responsive. Not much gliding going on. I think you take a turn.
Here's the thing: the challenge that I think they still face with a little bit is the fact that obviously the moons are so densely packed with rocks and randomness. It's like, how do you try and, it's like that balance, like how do you try and make it so that people can kind of carve their way through things a little bit more a little bit more easy? Because at the moment, we did it the other day in the racing. You'd like that instance there where this person is literally bang into another rock, bang into another rock, bang into. I mean, everywhere. I know people. That's probably accurate to what it is actually like, because no humans have gone through with trucks and mowed it all down and created smooth areas for kind of tracks and roads and stuff. So it's accurate, don't get me wrong, but it does make it a challenge.
It's not fun. Yeah.
No, it does make it a challenge.
I think it could make a definite reason to, if you're actually trying to traverse terrain, you would choose Grav-lev over wheeled vehicle, because the rocks are a nut roll, man. If you're trying to go any distance, oh my god, it's not easy.
And when it does bring into my mind the idea of like kind of terraformation within the game, you know, the idea of, like I say, like a vehicle that can kind of plow ahead and clear paths or mow things down, flatten areas, build roads, build that, you know, that kind of
road maker gameplay loop. You heard it here first.
Would be nice, but let's get the rest of the game finished first. But it would be it would be nice. Where are we going? We don't need roads. We got Grav-lev. But it's but I'm glad they're doing it. I think it's I think it's about 6 months too late personally, but I understand, you know, I don't think they needed the flight model to fix it. I think they needed to say goodbye to the person that previously did Grav-lev before they could do it. So
they said it was bound to the old flight model, and it basically didn't work anymore with the new flight model.
I just kind of wish that they would. I honestly don't care as much about this as them making physics grids work, and it would be so much cooler if you could just park a vehicle on a ship, or, you know, whatever. I would like them to
spawn a vehicle on a ship would be nice as well. Like, to be like they showed us originally, like spawn it in my ship.
I'd be willing if I could just reliably drive it up there and keep it there, and it would stay there. You know, that would be good. But.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. But I mean, they showed us the wonderful ability that they said to us a year ago or whatever, 2 years ago now. We would spawn the vehicles inside the ship, and that's again another one of those things I still haven't seen in the game yet, and I don't know why. It's like, why can't I have my Nox tell it to spawn? You've got in my Cutlass, like it's got the little spawning location. Why? What's the problem? What's hold up? I saw it. You showed it to me. They showed it to me. Like, it was on TV. I physically saw them do it. So what's the problem? I want to see that, please. And repair, and just the ability to flip my vehicles around, please. So anyway, that's the Grav-lev, the female model. And like I said, I don't understand why that's taken so long. And then for them to say that they still have to use men, it's just, I don't get it. And then we have a few questions. So Gladius versus Arrow, which one?
I mean, it sure seems like Arrow right now, but I just was informed recently that the Arrow has changed significantly from when I flew it during the free fly, at which point I was not impressed, as it, you know, compared to like even the 300 series. It just didn't feel zippy or maneuverable, and now apparently it does. Clearly it's in meta, so it demands me that I take another look at it, but sure seems like it's more popular than the Gladius. I don't know why, but there's got to be a reason.
The wing. You take a wing off a Gladius, like a deep wing wound on the Gladius. the ship cannot fly at all. It's completely dead. You're just looping and spinning, and you're just a useless target. You take the wing off an arrow, it still can fly pretty straight and you can stay in a fight still. But once you take the wing off a Gladius, I don't know. In my head, it shouldn't, for $20 less and for being considered as still a light fighter. I mean, it does make them different, but when you've got the arrow, in my head, I think the arrow is overpowered in terms of weapons as well. I feel the arrow should have 2 size 3s and 1 size 2 on the nose. I don't think it should have 3 size 3s for being the same price as the Gladius. That's my personal opinion on the component factor. I don't understand why it's $20 less and it's as good, if not better, than the Gladius, which is more money. And what we're supposed to fly most in Squadron 42 is, but I guess it's because it's old, but then I don't understand the price, why we bought it for less. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. It's like, if the arrow is newer than the Gladius, then why the hell is the Gladius 20 quid more? It makes no sense. But anyway, that's outside of the game world. But that's why. Simply, honestly, the wing. I think the Gladius still flies better. But that's a personal taste. But once you lose the wing, you're dead.
Yeah, and that's a big deal. Part of the Hawks gameplay too is it's terrific now that it's more durable with the shields. But they've chosen to, you get tagged, you lose half your guns, half your engines, and you're done. So, they could have chosen, if you get tagged, then you lose the spar on the back, or you lose a wing, but you still retain the gun sections. They're the ones who choose where things break off, and that's where they've chosen them to be on that ship. So it's interesting, that the arrow is just sort of that. Yeah, everything is inside, and the wings don't really do that much.
Yeah, and look at the guy saying chat, which I think is absolutely right, about durability and armor and stuff. Obviously, that will have an impact as well, absolutely, as we spoke about before in the show. And it's difficult to judge metas and values, for sure. We've got the new flight model coming in. That was going to change, plus armor. So we'll be doing this again. But that's the whole point of the great show, the podcast. We talk about it now. 6 months' time, we have something new to talk about. That's the beauty. Someone said that to me the other day. It's like, why are you talking about the flight model madness? You haven't even flown it yet. And I'm like, but that's half the fucking show. That's the whole point.
We talk about StarCitizen until it's done.
That's the whole beauty of it. We had the fun to discuss and guess and speculate and be right and say, hey, I was right, and be wrong, and everyone in chat say, you were wrong, madness, you fucking idiot. They do. We really matter. Hey, I got size 3 hard points on the Gladius. I like to say that was my thing. I made that happen, boys. You're welcome. Okay, so the next one is that was an old question. Personally, I'm confounded. That's an old question as well. Where is it? Sorry, guys. Sorry. Okay, yeah. So, Nantral asks. He said, "Listen to your podcast yesterday. I was wondering something. You were discussing the new flight model. You spoke mainly for a combat pilot perspective, but were you able to consider the non-combat? This is from Nantral, I think his name is. Non-combat centric ships and pilots, and how the new flight model would affect them. Also." There's 2 questions. Also, how it would affect very large ships. Do you really think that the single-seat fighter pilots should be the ones really testing out the flight model? So to answer the second part of your question, yes. We said it on the show. I firmly believe that you have to, the reason why CRG uses the Gladius as their starting point for the flight model is that you need somewhere to start, like a yardstick. You need that starting point of 0. The Gladius is where they do it. It's a small ship as a starting point. So for me, yes, that's why you start there. But to answer your question about larger ships, I don't fly them. Snake has had much more experience flying the 600, and I'm sure Bok has flown bigger ships than probably me as well. So you guys lead on this question about how you guys feel the flight model would affect your game experience in bigger ships, if at all. I'll be interested to know what you think. Either one of you start. That's fine.
You go ahead, Snake.
Okay. So I think it's a valid question that not necessarily the size of ships, because I think it does tend to scale. It's kind of the same reason that they develop style sheets with a certain category of ship, and then they expand it out from there. Like they apply those style sheets to smaller and larger ships. Madness is right. They've got to start somewhere, and the ships that the majority of the game, the player base are going to fly is probably where you want to be. And if you were to perfect any of the gameplay ranges, it would be the smaller ships where everybody flies those. But I do think it's a valid to say within that size range of ships, it's valid to say, but you know, how does it add or remove value from my cargo running or from my mining or from my, you know, all these other types of gameplay loops. But you know, I think that I've said it for, you know, for a long time that my hope is that the character of the ship changes in a way that makes the two environments totally different to fly in, and maybe gives, you know, different considerations when you're under attack or you're trying to attack somebody. You know, if you're gonna, it already a little bit does. I mean, I know Madness hates flying in Atmo, and you know, it changes the way you fly. But that is sort of at the heart of there being two completely different flight environments: space flight and Atmo flight. You know, you want to like ride that Atmo line and be like, hey, you know what, drag these guys out if we can, because I do not want to go fight down there. I know that they're better at fighting down there, or they have ships that are better equipped for it, or whatever. And similarly, if you're flying a cargo ship or something, you're like, hey man, I'm under attack, but I need to dive for the nearest planet, because if I don't get to Atmo before these cats take my shields down, I'm smoked. So something like that, you know. Big ships fly like big ships right now. I like that. I like the Cat, or, you know, 600 is in a little bit different place. It's a little more maneuverable than most ships its size, but you know, big ship, Hammerhead, the Cat, the Starfarer, those things are pigs, man. They do not move around quickly, and that's because they're huge ships, you know. And that's it feels good to fly it that way, for it to feel like you've got this big ship at, you know, underneath your controls. But yeah, as far as like, I think where it's gonna hit is like fuel efficiency and stuff. If you don't have VTOL, like high efficiency VTOL thrusters, as I understand it, it's gonna suck your gas bad to stay in Atmo for any amount of time. And that's why if you are a ship that doesn't have that, you better be going down to land and then taking off to get the hell out of there. Because if you're going to hang out for a while in Atmo, you're going to something like that.
Yeah, no.
I don't know if that answers the question or not, but
no. It's that's a good answer, dude. Puck, what's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, my thoughts about the flight model is, first of all, the reason why you were talking about the flight model from a fighter's perspective. I think that's the. Let me put it this way. I think the fighter pilots will be the ones that will use the flight model to the fullest. They will really put it to the max. There's no space hauler that will use decoupled mode, for instance. I can't see a way why I would use that, or do all weird kind of maneuvers to get from place A to B. So that's the reason why those people hopefully one time will get chosen for being an Eve Acadi member to only test the flight model, as you said last week. Probably will not happen, but okay. What I'm expecting from bigger ships is that they just feel like big ships. They don't have to move that fast when moving on the surface. I really want to feel that, and I hope that it's already there. I hope they will keep it into the new flight model. For the rest, yeah, I'm gonna be a jack of all trades. I want to do some fighting. I want to do trading, mining, whatever. So I will see all of it from the new flight model. And yeah, there will be some things I may not like, and there will be things that I'm really, well, happy about. It's hard to say.
I mean, the other thing that's different between big ships and small ships is that you'll see a lot of ships in the small ship category that have, you know, wings and are like Atmo leaning, but you don't see that in big ships. I mean, I think the biggest, you know, winged ship you could find would be like the Hercules, right? Like the Hercules is the closest thing to a large ship with wings. After that, there's no wings. Wings aren't a thing in big ships anymore. So what will that do? I mean, it could sort of be in alignment with what they're trying to do. After a certain size, you shouldn't be looking to go down to Atmo. That's not what
No,
you're
some will not
supposed to
make
do.
it down to Atmo.
But
Yeah, they'll just drop.
but yeah, the Starliner kind of has wings. You're right. It does. It's kind of wingish. You're right, Twitch. There's just not a lot of them, right? So I think that's an interesting consideration too. Is like the Atmo, the new flight model in Atmo may hit those big ships especially hard. Maybe it should, but it will. I think.
I hope so. I hope so.
But then,
and not only the big ships. Looking at the Aurora, for instance, which is just a brick. I think, or I hope they will implement it in such way that it will not respond that well at all because of the aerodynamics of that thing. And yes, you can have thrusters, but I don't know.
I think we may be asking too much of it, though. And honestly, in a perfect world, you would have like it would turn into a flight sim in Atmo. Like that's how ships will fly in Atmo, because there's so much drag and you need lift and you need all these things. If you're trying to muscle your way through it, the muscle that you're using from your engines is trying to simulate what an airplane would do, and it's all lift, you can hope for from it. Yeah, you're not going to simulate what you can get out in space. You're just going to simulate what you could get with a winged ship. But I don't think it's going to be that close. I think it's going to be much more variation on space flight, but it's not going to be like a full-on flight sim. You know what I mean?
It fucking better not be, because my fingers can't take it. I'm already wounded. I can't be cramming my fingers to try and keep my VTOLs above the atmosphere or whatever. I can't be broken. I can't break my hands any more than I already have. I think for me, like, I've only flown. I had a Connie for a while, and it was sluggy and slow and big and cumbersome, and I just didn't enjoy it. It was a massive target. Its engines fell off every 5 seconds it got hit. Didn't enjoy flying big ships. I enjoyed being inside them, and they're kind of fun and stuff, but when I've, like, take for example the Starfarer. You do a side pan with a Starfarer, you got to wait an hour and a half for that motherfucker to come back again. To then get onto target, and then it overcorrects itself, and then you got to spend another fucking half an hour to try and get that thing back again. Like I said, the Connie is kind of similar, but a little bit less, but just really like feels like the flight model will be just like a jousting monster. Like I said before in the previous, and I don't want to go over it too much. If you want to see my real views on the flight model, watch last week's Asylum podcast. I've linked it in the YouTube channel. You'll see my thoughts very clearly about the flight model and how I feel about it. I will need to test it out more with the bigger ships. It's very difficult at the moment to know. But I just... I don't know. My biggest worry, and this is, I'm not going to go into much, but my biggest worry was the new flight model was going to turn all the ships into feeling the same. Jousting. Straight line ships. Just go in a straight line with big engines. And that's always been my concern, and that continues to be my concern. Almost every shipping game, apart from the alien ship from the Jean, which is the Cathrall, has massive engines in the back and small thrusters on the sides. So they all are going to predominantly go in one direction all the time, unless you decouple. And it's just going to be that. And that's my biggest concern, is the flight models for everything will actually be less different and more of the same. So if you ask me how the big ships will be, I think they'll be more straight and harder to turn and more of the same. Is the best way to describe my thoughts on the flight model for the big ships. Just be the same, but worse. And all just... That's it. For now, that's my prediction. Anyway, we'll see when until we get my hands on it. So I've got very low expectations for the flight model. That's my very low expectations. Here's a question. When do you think is going to be finally possible for us to sell stolen cargo?
I mean, I hope it's soon. I hope it's like
this year.
I don't feel like it would be. I mean, I always hate saying this because I don't know how hard it is actually, but I don't feel like it's that hard to like transfer ownership. At least if you had a ship, if you stole a ship with cargo in it, maybe you could. It would all of a sudden turn over to your ownership. But you know, as far as like stuff on the ground, like at least give a way to manually sell it, like because you can pick up a box on the ground and bring it to somewhere and give it to them. I don't know. I mean, I hope it would add a good amount of depth to reasons that you would do things like attack cargo ship or whatever. But yeah, I just don't know how hard it is to make that happen. I don't know if stuff's totally 100% account linked, and if it's account linked, then not anytime soon. But if it's just server linked or something, I feel like maybe they could do it. I don't know.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of, I hope it comes this year. My worry is that I think CRG will potentially delay the ability for us to be able to borrow other people's ships as much as possible because of the money aspect and stuff. So that's my kind of thoughts on that, really. But I just kind of, I hope it's not too long, because I would like to be able to make money taking things from other people, or I'd like to borrow. Well, I'd like to be able to borrow Snake's caterpillar, for example, and go on a run and make a shed ton of money. But that's my worry is that CRG won't allow that, because in theory that would stop you buying ships. Because if you think about
it, crew it, still be there, but you could ask somebody else to crew it. Like you could say, hey, I want to fly the ship, or I want to be on the bridge, but I need you to go down there and buy this stuff. You go make the deal down there, add it to this ship, and then off we go. But I have to be the one that goes and buys it because I am bound to the ship. And you can still do it. I mean, I can crew it with other people, but it would be nice to be able to just have shared ownership of the ship or something.
Yeah, that would be cool. But I just see CRG refraining from wanting to do that simply because it would stop people maybe buying ships a little bit. Because if I could borrow your ship, why would I want to go buy? If I was close to saying a Max, for example, other than the Omni Skies and stuff, if I didn't need to, and I could just say, "Hey, Snake, what are you doing? Are you flying combat? Can I borrow your Max?" And you'd be like, "Yeah, no worries, madness. Here you go." And then you spawn it on pad. I go get it. I go fly down. I can do what I can do my cargo run. I can make my money. It's going to be in the game eventually. But
it's all semantics, though, isn't it? I mean, if you implement a guild banking system, then you'll have already done that, because it doesn't really matter who owns the ship if all the money goes into the guild bank and then gets destroyed again. Like if the resources at the end of the day are distributable, which they're supposed to be eventually, who cares who owns the ship? It won't deter somebody from buying the ship just because they can participate in their guild events and get the money anyway. You still have to. I don't know. It just feels like it's the same thing at the end.
It does, and I don't mind having multiple ways of doing the same thing. You know what I mean? Doesn't necessarily need to be one way. Like the guild way is fine, but they could be Anyway, we'll see. I'm just curious. I don't think it'll come this year, but I hope it does. We'll see what happens. And then that's probably it, because I think we're up to time, guys. I think that's time. So I will just do a little shout out. So for everyone that's joined us this evening, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Thank you, Snake, for joining us as the guest for this week's Asylum Podcast. Really appreciate you taking the time. Massively, really kind of you. Thanks to you dogs in the background for making it look good too. What dogs do you have, if you don't mind?
They're both German short-haired pointers. One's just an all liver or brown. One is the sister, and the big brother is the liver and roan type that people normally associate. But yeah, they're good pups.
Very cool, very cool. So thank you so much. If you haven't followed Snake, guys, I don't know if we've got any mods in chat, but let me see if I can get you a mod. I'll get you a shout out, dude. If someone else can do it, otherwise I'll do it.
Your bot is not running.
My box switched off this evening, so I have to do it manually. It's fine. It's okay. We can do this. We can do this. Go give the dude a follow.
Thank you, man.
Snakey, no worries. And then we have our illustrious Bok. As always, thank you, dude, for joining me. You are going on holiday next week, I believe.
Yes, this Friday around midnight, I'm going to Austria, doing some skiing.
Sounds terrible.
Absolutely terrible.
Miserable experience.
Yeah, never do it.
I hope you make the best of it.
Wow. Oh, we will.
Yeah, sorry, I'm spelling. I spelled your name wrong again.
Again.
I missed the B, but I'm checking it now every time. And go give Bok a follow, everyone, as well. Thank you so much for everyone that's followed this evening. I really appreciate the follows. I'm sorry we can't have obviously the audio of the follow alerts and stuff like that, but thank you so much. I myself will be streaming at some point, but I have to go see the doctor about my busted hand or arm at the moment, which is causing me no end of problems. and then hopefully we'll be able to show off the pedals and how you can all laugh at how terrible I am at flying, because I literally am back to zero with the pedals. I flew in it yesterday, and I took on the Vandal swarm, which is even the easier one, and it must take me about 4 minutes just to kill the first target. I was just like rolling this way, rolling that way, and I was just like, how do I get this? And then I was constantly hitting the keys with my fingers as well to kind of like roll to the left, because I've switched off the key binding. So I was like hitting the Q and E, and I was like, I don't need to press that button anymore. It doesn't work. So,
and guess what? You can do it all over again in 3.5.
I know. Hopefully the mechanics will be the same, but yeah, it's so hopefully we'll stream soon, guys. But I have to go see the doctor about my arm first, because it's quite serious. I think for the first time I've ever had such an injury.
Almost dead, guys.
I'm getting old.
Take care.
I've got to look after it. So, but yeah, thank you so much. Definitely check out this next week for the Demar Rally. For the Asylum. If you've just joined us and would like to catch up on previously, you can obviously catch up on my name. You can check out the VOD from earlier. YouTube will be up tomorrow, at some point tomorrow as well, so follow us on Twitter. You'll get shout outs obviously for events and things that we're doing. We'll be doing Dungeons and Dragons. If anyone likes Dungeons and Dragons, we have a show called Stout and Sturdy, which we do on Fridays. We've kind of been a little bit off because Miz is the dungeon master, has been so busy with painting, but hopefully that will be back when he's a little bit free again, and we'll get back to doing some Dungeons and Dragons, which is always really good fun, as we're all new and learning, and I miss it terribly. Thank you so much, everyone, and we'll go find someone to throw everyone over to. Really do appreciate it, guys. So let's just go to there. Thank you, and good night, everyone. See you all next week, next Monday, same time next Monday, 9 p.m.
Good night, everybody.
Bye-bye.